Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. It's 7 minutes now past the hour, 3 o'clock. Let's get started on today's edition of The Drive. 4 hours of news and information you can use. Get you all set up and ready to go so you'll be aware of what's happening in the world around you as you're driving home. I mean, look, you're in the car for 45 minutes or so, maybe a little more. Well, we're gonna take advantage of that time and educate you on some stuff. That's right. By the way, lovely day. We had a nice little shower, cooled things off.
Really?
Not quite well out here. We did.
Wow.
And I've got 86 degrees. What do you got there in downtown Nashville?
Let's see. What is it? It is 86. Yeah.
Okay, so not too bad. I mean,
Cooler than yesterday, for sure.
Yeah. Yesterday was rough. Yeah, it was tough.
A little more clouds.
That's right. And that helps. That helps a little bit. Okay, let's get started. The story that I want to start off with is the border announcement that was just made at the White House just a few moments ago. The President of the United States, once again, not going to Congress and working out something that everybody could, join in on, some kind of real border reform piece. He says, well, Congress won't work with me. No, Congress is not just going to roll over and do what you want, which is to provide a lot of more people to process paperwork. Congress is interested in having a conversation about immigration. But, Mr. President, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but you don't have control of the House of Representatives, and that means you've got to deal with the conservatives in the House of Representatives that control that body. And until you're ready to make some kind of honest effort to meet the concerns that they have, there's not going to be a legislative solution. So he said, well, I can't get anybody to work with me. Well, that's not true. They would work with you if you were willing to meet them halfway, but you're never, you want it your way or the highway. So what he ends up doing is what he does all the time. He does it with, getting rid of student loan debt. He does it on all kinds of things. He does it through executive order, and he's got a new executive order with regard to immigration this afternoon.
The second action I'm announcing today was about keeping families together. My dad used to have an expression. He said, Joey, family's about the beginning, middle, and the end. About keeping couples together who are married, where one spouse is a U.S. citizen, the other is undocumented. They've been living in the United States for at least 10 years. These couples have been raising families, sending their kids to church and school, paying taxes, contributing to our country for 10 years or more, but living in the United States all this time with fear and uncertainty. We can fix that, and that's what I'm going to do today. Fix it. Here's the point. It doesn't require any fundamental change in our immigration law. Today I'm announcing a common sense fix to streamline the process for obtaining legal status for immigrants married, to American citizens who lived here for a long time. For those wives or husbands and their children who have lived in America for a decade or more but are undocumented, this action will allow them to file the paperwork for legal status in the United States, allow them to work while they remain with their families in the United States. Let's be clear. This action still requires undocumented spouses to file all required legal paperwork to remain in the United States. It requires them to pass a criminal background checks, and it doesn't apply to anyone trying to come here today. This action is a better way. It doesn't tear families apart while requiring every undocumented spouse to fulfill their obligations under the law. Look, the action I'm announcing today will go into effect later this summer. And by the way, just as was true for the protection of dreamers, the steps I'm taking today are overwhelmingly supported by the American people, no matter what the other team says.
Well, what the other team says is based on some research that says about 2/3 of Americans want all illegal immigrants removed from the country. I mean, that's what they say. So, I don't know where you're getting that stuff. Look, here's the bottom line. He says, look, it doesn't apply to anybody who's here today. No, but the people that are coming across the border today are giving a piece of paper that says, hey, we need you to check in about 6 years from now. I'm serious. Some people actually have pieces of paper, notices to appear that say, your hearing will be in 6 years. As we heard yesterday, right now there are about 7,000 illegal immigrants for every caseworker that ICE has. You got 7,000 cases to plow through, and it's getting worse every day because people are still coming across the border. But let's say, you get 6, 7 years down the path before you actually become adjudicated. Under the president's plan, if you stay here about 4 more years, you can then apply, marry an American, and you can then apply to stay here. So, yeah, it doesn't apply to anybody here now. But, the way it's shaping up, you're going to be here in 10 years, and then you can just apply then, right? It's ridiculous. And, look, it's not a good solution. It's not. I mean, the thing about it is that, you say, well, they got to fill out the paperwork. They got to pass a background check, this, that, and the other. And they got to jump through all these hoops. It's not that many hoops that you have to jump through. And quite frankly, if ICE is vetting those folks as carefully as they vet the Tajikistan terrorist who got into the country with no problem, then we got a lot to worry about. Look, not everybody who comes across the border is a bad person. I mean, some people are coming here because really, honestly, it's all economic. Most of it, a lot of it is economic. They want an opportunity to succeed. They have found that they can't succeed in their country, and they're coming to America because America has a system where people can work hard and succeed. And a lot of people come over here and they bust their butts to try to do well in this country. I'll give it that. There's some people like that. There are also a lot of bad people in the country. Like a man who comes to us from El Salvador, crossed the border illegally, goes to Maryland. He's got a record as long as his arm, and he is now being held for the rape and murder of a woman who had 5 children in Harford County, Maryland. Here is the Harford County Sheriff.
Rachel was not his first victim, and it's my understanding that this suspect, this monster, fled to the United States illegally after committing the brutal murder of a young woman in El Salvador a month early in January of 2023. Once in our country and likely emboldened by his anonymity, he brutally attacked a 9-year-old girl and her mother during a home invasion in March of 2023 in Los Angeles. And as everyone I believe is aware, that was our first DNA match linking Rachel's case to the Los Angeles case. It has been a fear of mine that once we identified this suspect, the result would be exactly this. And I want to now direct these comments to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and to every member in both chambers of Congress. We are 1,800 miles away here in Harford County. We are 1,800 miles away from the southern border, and the American citizens are not safe because of failed immigration policies. This is the second time in just 2 years that an innocent Harford County woman has lost her life to a criminal in our country illegally. Let me repeat that. 1,800 miles from the southern border, and this is the second woman in our county to be killed by an illegal alien. In both cases, they are suspects from El Salvador with ties to criminal gangs. Should not be happening. Victor Hernandez did not come here to make a better life for himself or for his family. He came here to escape the crime he committed in El Salvador. He came here and murdered Rachel, and God willing, no one else. But that should have never been allowed to happen.
Yeah, it should never have happened, but it's happening all the time. Here's another one. The Maryland governor, by the way, is joining in on that. The governor of Maryland is a Democrat. And he is very much, calling for border to be closed down because of what has happened. From hotair.com, what does it take for a Democrat governor of a blue state to finally abandon Joe Biden's open border policies and embrace tougher immigration control on the southern border? In the case of Governor Wes Moore of Maryland, it required the rape and murder of a beloved mother of children, 5 children. Rachel Morin was out hiking on a popular trail in Harford County, Maryland last summer when she was assaulted and killed. DNA evidence was collected at the scene, and an investigation was launched. Last week, the culprit was discovered and arrested. Victor Martinez Hernandez is an illegal alien from El Salvador. You heard the sheriff talk about him. Listen, the governor was right there alongside the Harford County Sheriff, Jeffrey Gawler, where he blamed America's broken borders for this woman's horrific death and said that elected officials who allowed this to happen must bear the blame. Well, who made it happen? Who opened up the borders? Who, rescinded all of the Trump orders and opened up and turned our border into a porous nightmare where people with bad backgrounds can slide right through and enter the country, travel all over the country, creating mayhem in many cases wherever they go. Here's another one. Migrant arrested in broad daylight rape of a 13-year-old girl in New York City. An illegal immigrant, Ecuadorian, in New York Police Department custody after a broad daylight sex attack in which police say a machete-wielding man approached two 13-year-olds, one a boy and one a girl, tied them together by the wrist, and raped the girl at a popular park in Queens. What kind of people are coming across this border? Christian Giovanni Inga, a 25-year-old from Ecuador, again, entered the country illegally in 2021 near Eagle Pass, Texas, with his 3-year-old child. After police released surveillance video showing him near the scene of the crime, tips started pouring in. Ultimately, a group of at least 10 neighbors swarmed him and held him until police arrived around 1 a.m. Tuesday. That's what it takes. I mean, it takes somebody in a community to do this in order to stop the nonsense that's happening on the border. Does that not tell you that people are pretty upset about this, pretty irritated by the things that are going on? Look, I mean, it sounds all good and nice. Well, these people have been here 10 years. They've proven themselves in the community. They're married. They're stable. They still violated the law when they came across the border. So it doesn't, basically, again, what he's saying is that, the rules don't matter as long as, you stay here 10 years. And he says that it doesn't apply to the people who are coming in now, but the people who are coming in now are going to be here in 10 years, right? So it does apply to them. Just hide out long enough, then you can file the paperwork too. Look, is the border broken? Yeah. Are there things that maybe could be done? Yes. But you know what? We had a pretty good system in place. Absolutely had a pretty good system in place before Joe Biden rolled it all back on the day he took office. And now he's trying to say it's somehow the Republicans' fault. It's not the Republicans' fault. And the American people are smart enough to see through all of this nonsense. As the Federalist writes, Biden's executive actions on the border are making the crisis worse. You know what's happened? He said we're going to shut down. We're going to ban amnesty for anybody who comes in the country illegally now. You know what's happening? People are rushing before it really gets serious and they really do shut down the border. They know there's a looming election as well. They want to get in before perhaps Donald Trump becomes president because they know things will change then. Ladies and gentlemen, it's very disingenuous of this president to look at us and say, you know what? This is a problem of the Republicans because they won't come to the table with me. They're willing to come to the table. But when they come to the table, it has to be a real negotiation, not just the president saying it's my way or the highway. That's not what happens in a negotiation. His ideas are really designed to just accelerate how people coming across the border illegally are handled. That's really his idea. Not enough to shut it down, because he doesn't want to shut it down. And in the meantime, along with some well-meaning people who are just looking to make their lives better, you have a lot of people who are not good people coming and causing crime. You're having a lot of drugs come into this country, and fentanyl is a problem. It is a big problem right here in Nashville. What we need to do is simply go back to what we had before. And God willing, that will happen in January of next year. Until then, it doesn't seem like this president is prepared to do anything serious to stop the crisis at the border. And it's on him. 21 past the hour. Busy Bee, when you need heat or cold AC, you know the number, 615-775-7833. Good people over at Busy Bee who can help you with your problems. If you got problems with your air conditioning, you got problems with your water systems, your water tank, whatever it is, they can help you. And they got some specials going on, especially when it comes to your air conditioning system. Right now, you got a problem with your HVAC system, and it's just not blowing cool air like you want it to. They will actually waive the $89 dispatch fee and come out and do the work without attaching that fee to it. They give 10% off all indoor air quality products. They have a thing where they can go in and actually fog and UV light your whole air duct system to make it clean and germ free, so that you're breathing really good air in your house. Plumbing, $500 off a select tankless water heater, $500 off an upright S&C water heater. If you have problems with your drain not flowing correctly, for $99, they'll put a camera down that drain, take a look at it, and to tell you what's going on. $79, you can get your water heater flushed, and you should do that from time to time. It helps them to last longer. Listen, become a member of the Beehive Club. That's really the way to go. $99, and what you get is 3 inspections a year, one aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at your plumbing systems. You know Busy Bee, they're the heating and cooling official Rude Pro partner in our area. For satisfaction guarantee, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833, online at busybehvac.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
You've been hearing Brian talk about it. We'll have more on President Biden announcing executive actions concerning undocumented immigrants. And also in the wake of recent aircraft mishaps, Boeing CEO has been testifying before Congress. We'll have those stories at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
There's Jay Harper in the newsroom. He's got it all covered at the top and the bottom of the hour. And then there's Chris Webber in the control room, pushing all the blinky buttons, making sure that things are running smoothly, as he always always does. Good to see you guys in the shop today, making sure that everything is covered. We're talking about the situation on the border. This is border related as well. And it comes from the Epoch Times. I think it's called Epoch Times. In light of illegal immigrants breaching military bases as well as those with suspected terrorist ties. You heard the other day that we arrested 8 individuals from Tajikistan who came across the border illegally, arrested in New York, Philly, and Los Angeles. One of them had been caught by the FBI talking about bombs. And these same kind of nationalists, Tajikistan nationalists, were responsible for the attack on the Crocus City Hall concert hall near Moscow that left 140 people dead. So this is a group that we have to watch very closely. And in addition to that, Representative Pat Fallon, who sits on the National Security, the Border and Foreign Affairs Subcommittee, he's been concerned about what we've been going on with Chinese nationals that have been coming to this country. One of the fastest growing groups of illegal immigrants arriving from hostile countries is China. In the first 7 months of the fiscal year, beginning in October of last year, border agents have apprehended, are you ready for this? Nearly 50,000 Chinese illegal immigrants, which stands to smash the 2023 fiscal year record of 52,000, and that was an entire 12-month period. At the same time, Chinese nationals and others from adversarial nations have increasingly been caught attempting to access American military bases. Dozens of incidents have come to light of Chinese nationals snapping photos near military installations and critical infrastructures such as reservoirs. What's that all about? Claiming to be tourists even when the facilities are rural and isolated. This has become the subject of some backdoor, closed-door sessions in which members of Congress have been briefed about the concerns that the intelligence community has. And yet, is anything done to stop it? I think you know the answer to that. No. Come on in. This is America. Head north. You'll be fine. See you in 6 years. 30 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock.
Good afternoon. It's 3:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds, 89 degrees now on Music Row. The full weather forecast and another traffic report are coming up. President Biden at the White House today announcing 2 new election year executive actions that could provide relief to thousands of undocumented immigrants who have been in the country for some time. One, the president claims, will streamline the process for obtaining legal status for immigrants that are married to American citizens and who have lived in the U.S. for several years.
For those wives or husbands and their children who have lived in America for a decade or more but are undocumented, this action will allow them to file the paperwork for legal status in the United States. Allow them to work while they remain with their families in the United States.
The president also announcing a new action that will allow some undocumented immigrants, including some DACA recipients and so-called dreamers, to obtain employment-based non-immigrant visas more quickly. On Capitol Hill today, Boeing CEO David Calhoun, he's been testifying before a Senate Homeland Security Subcommittee about the company's recent safety track record after deadly incidents with the 737 MAX jets back in 2018 and 19 and increased scrutiny about manufacturing issues that have been going on recently. Lawmakers grilled Calhoun on what Boeing is doing to fix them. In his opening statement, Calhoun turned to the family members of the 737 MAX victims and apologized. Calhoun also said that he is committed to fixing the safety culture at Boeing.
I come from this industry, and I know full well that this is an industry where we simply must get it right every single time.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
You know, I was down at the station today, and a lot of people walked up to me and said, "Man, you look great. You're losing some weight," and I am losing weight with help from the folks at Restoration Wellness and Med Spa. And if you're looking to do that as well, then I can only highly recommend these good folks there. They have really helped me. Cabana wife, my gosh, you should see her. She looks so svelte these days. So why don't you call the Restoration Wellness team today at this number, 615-470-8124, or visit them at their website, Restoration Wellness Med Spa, to book .com to book a consultation today. Now, my friends Carly and Jamie, they'll take great care of you, treat you like you're part of the family. You can be part of the more than 1,000 patients who've already seen life-changing results from the weight loss management program there. You know, weight loss can help you in so many ways. It can increase your energy levels, improve your quality of sleep, enhance your overall health. It gives you a great sense of well-being to know that you're not carrying around all that body weight, right? These are customized treatment plans. It's not one size fits all. Restoration Wellness considers your unique needs and the kind of lifestyle that you have and the goals that you have as they come up with their plan for you. So whether your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. Learn about the newest technology in weight loss management. RestorationWellnessMedSpa.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at MembersNutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to MembersNutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to MembersNutrition.com. Once again, MembersNutrition.com.
Let's head down to the swamp. Or over to the swamp, I guess it is. And we got all kinds of things to talk about here. It's a swampy place. I'm not afraid of the swamp creatures. I survived in that morass of humanity for 31 years. And I'm so glad to be here in Middle. I wasn't born in Tennessee, but I got here as quick as I could. And now, with the clarity of thought that comes with having been in Tennessee for a while, I can now look back at my time at the swamp, and I can guide you through that. I understand. I speak fluent Swampese. I do. This is a swampy story. An ethics panel is now probing alleged Matt Gaetz obstruction and has issued 25 subpoenas. Now, the House Ethics Committee, in case you don't know, is a committee that's made up an even number of Democrats and Republicans. They don't have a chairman; they have co-chairs. And this is a committee that takes its sweet time looking into stuff. But they have been looking at Matt Gaetz for some time, and they decided today to announce that, well, some of the things that we were looking at him and we're no longer interested in probing that. We've satisfied those answers. But they went on to say some other things. Here we go. From thehill.com. House Ethics Committee said Tuesday it's probing Representative Matt Gaetz and whether he sought to obstruct investigations into his conduct, is dropping some other lines of investigation, and has issued 25 subpoenas in matters surrounding the congressman. In a rare public update about the investigation, the committee said the high-profile probe into the firebrand Florida congressman has been the subject of a significant and unusual amount of public reporting, and much of that reporting has been inaccurate. Notwithstanding the difficulty in obtaining relevant information from Representative Gaetz and others, the committee has spoken with more than a dozen witnesses, issued 25 subpoenas, reviewed thousands of pages of documents in this matter. Based on its review to date, the committee has determined that some of the allegations merit continued review. And during the course of the investigation, the committee has also identified additional allegations that merit review. It is continuing to investigate whether Matt Gaetz engaged in sexual misconduct, engaged in illicit drug use, or accepted improper gifts, matters it first investigated in April of 2021. The committee also confirmed the new lines of inquiry, whether Gaetz dispensed special privileges and favors to individuals with whom he had a personal relationship and sought to obstruct government investigations of his conduct. At the same time, the House panel says it will take no further action on whether Gaetz shared inappropriate images or videos on the House floor, whether he misused state identification records, converted campaign funds to personal use, or accepted a bribe or improper gratuity. Gaetz, for his part, has categorically denied all of the allegations before the committee. The 42-year-old Republican appeared to preemptively respond, saying that the new frivolous investigations were based on lies. He talks about the probes that have been closed for me, no longer areas of inquiry. They are doing this to avoid the obvious fact that every investigation into me ends the same way, my exoneration. He says this is Soviet in nature. Kevin McCarthy showed them the man, and they are now trying to find the crime. I work for Northwest Floridians who won't be swayed by this nonsense, and McCarthy and his goons know it. Trying to blame this all on Kevin McCarthy. The Ethics Committee added in its Tuesday statement the committee is confident in the integrity of the process. So these House investigations drew out of a Department of Justice probe of him, first revealed in early 2021, whether he had a sexual relationship with an underage girl. An Ethics Committee probe opened shortly after, also examining whether he shared inappropriate images or videos on the House floor and engaged in illicit drug use. These are all allegations that he vigorously denies. But the Ethics Committee revived the investigations, included by speaking to former associates and reportedly seeking materials from the Department of Justice. So this is the thing. This is the thing that Gaetz and McCarthy were fighting about, because this all began under McCarthy, but now continues under Mike Johnson. So we'll keep an eye on that and let you know what happens. Speaking of swamp activity, here we go. Dozens of House lawmakers got at least $30,000 each for D.C. living expenses. This is from the Washington Times. More than 300 House lawmakers have reaped the benefits of a new program that reimburses them for housing, meals, and other incidental costs with no receipts required. Nearly 30 members, 7 Democrats and 20 Republicans, received payments of at least $30,000. This is in addition to their salary of $174,000 a year. Representative Jack Berman, a Michigan Republican, received the highest reimbursement, pocketing $44,000 for his room and board in the District of Columbia. Representative Matt Gaetz, Florida Republican, received the second highest amount with $42,279 in expenses, followed by Jim Baird, Republican, at $41,459. Ilhan Omar, Minnesota Democrat, $40,092. Representative Troy A. Carter, Louisiana Democrat, $39,245. So what is this plan? I've never heard about this. The program, which was created last year by a House panel, allows lawmakers to claim expenses for living in the District of Columbia while doing congressional business. It was suggested by the bipartisan House Select Committee on the Modernization of Congress in 2022 to help ease the cost of having a place to stay in Washington while also maintaining a home in their districts. The program does not allow members to request reimbursement for mortgage payments in the nation's capital. Critics say the lack of receipts makes the program ripe for abuse. Some lawmakers have already been called into question over their D.C. living expenses. Representative Nancy Mace of South Carolina is being scrutinized by the House Ethics Committee for her reimbursement request. Ms. Mace owns a $1.6 million home on Capitol Hill, expensed a total of $27,000 in 2023, almost $28,000, according to the date database. She has denied any wrongdoing. I never have heard of this. I mean, I always sort of used to have a little bit of sympathy for members of Congress, because if you are honest and you live off the salary that you make as a congressional member, it's $174,000. But that sounds like a lot, but not when you have to maintain a home in D.C., a place to live in D.C., and also maintain a home in your home district. You know, that $174,000, while it's a great salary, a lot of people would love to have $174,000. It actually, when you have to maintain two homes, is not a tremendous amount of money when you really think about it, given the fact that, you know, your biggest expense is always your living expense, the home in which you stay, or the place that you rent. And so I used to say I don't think it's a tremendous amount of money for people who have to do that. A lot of people look at me and they say, well, and again, understand the average American out there working their butts off for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year, it seems egregious. But I got to tell you, I lived in that area, and it's expensive, way more expensive than living, here in Middle Tennessee on so many different levels. John Kerry used government email. Used government email alias as Secretary of State. Whistleblowers now say. Yeah, it seemed like all these Democrats all have these alias, email accounts, so that you can, when you turn over all of the stuff and they say, give me all of John Kerry's emails on this. If you don't know about the alias email account, you don't know to ask for it. And so if you want to do things in privacy and not have them show up in database searches, you set up an alias email account. It's not honest. It really ought to be banned. I think it is banned, really, certainly frowned upon. But he used pseudonyms. Let's see, turn the page here. Trying to turn the page. Here. Well, I hate it when that happens. Government email addresses while serving the nation's top diplomat during the Obama administration, whistleblowers have told Senators Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson. They told him that he used the email address sestravel1@state.gov while serving in his official capacity. Who would know to ask for that email? No one. We want to know whether then Secretary Kerry properly complied with all federal records, laws, and regulations with respect to his official email communications, and whether responses to relevant Freedom of Information Act requests have been properly included, that email address in production of any documents that we ask for from archives. So, yeah, it's a fair question, or it's State Department. So, Congress has oversight. They sometimes go and say, give me all your emails about so-and-so. And if you ask, they'll give you his official email account. But the good stuff is over in the alias account, right? You don't know to ask for it, so it's right there hiding in plain sight. And then finally, this is unbelievable, and it's been out there for a couple of days. I'm sorry I'm just now getting to it. Joe Biden repeatedly watched his German Shepherd commander attack Secret Service agents, according to newly released agency records obtained through the Freedom of Information Act by Judicial Watch. Those folks, Man, they uncover such good stuff. They detail several incidents with firsthand quotes from agents who were bit and or observed the dog biting other agents in Biden's presence. One notable attack took place on September 12, 2023, as Biden was walking Commander in the Kennedy Garden of the White House. Commander ran through Biden's legs and bit my left arm through the front of my jacket. I pulled my arm away and yelled no. Commander jumped again and bit my left arm for a second time. Biden yelled at Commander and attached the leash to him. But there are other times where apparently Biden just stood by and did nothing while his dog is mauling Secret Service. This dog was a menace. Maybe we should introduce her to Christy. Just introduce this dog to Christy Nome. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to get in trouble for that, aren't I?
Probably.
I'm joking. But nonetheless, I mean, it really, honestly, when you got a dog like that, if you can't control it, you are a danger to people around you. I remember, one time just walking down the street and there was a young girl about 6 years old. She was walking a pit bull in my neighborhood. And that pit bull was just dragging her all over the place. She's about maybe 9 years old, 10 years old. And that pit bull was dragging her everywhere. She had no control over that dog. And that dog came after me. And I yelled at her. I said, get your dog under control, because I didn't want to get bit, And somebody, or one of her brothers or somebody said, why are you yelling at my sister or my daughter? I forget what it is. I think it's sister. Why are you yelling at my sister? I said, because that dog is not under control, and that dog is going to hurt someone. I mean, it really can happen. If you're going to have a dog that is that edgy, as some German shepherds are, and pit bulls are sometimes. I know, don't all you pit bull people, do not write me. I'm just talking about the one I encountered. You've got to have that dog under control. My dog right now is under control. She's sleeping on the couch behind me.
I don't know. She looks like she could pounce at any moment.
She's not a threat to anybody, except that she might chew the leather on the couch. I don't know. 50 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
The Riley Strain autopsy has been released to the public. We'll have details. And in the wake of recent aircraft mishaps, Boeing CEO has been testifying before Congress today, and trouble for a popular entertainer. We'll have those stories and more coming up at 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, let's take a look at the markets right now and see where things stand. Dow Jones Industrial is up 56, S&P is up 13, NASDAQ is up 5. So we're in the green, and not a tremendously big day on the market, but nonetheless, all of the screens are green. What's driving the market today? What's going on with our economy? Let's check in with John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management. Hello, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, actually the market was relatively flat, but another record day for the S&P and NASDAQ, even though it was just up a little bit. Probably one of the significant news stories of the day is the AI rally continues. NVIDIA actually today surpassed Microsoft as the most expensive or valuable company in the publicly traded markets. $3.4 trillion versus 3.2 in Microsoft. So that's pretty amazing. We did get some retail sales that were pretty sluggish. Of course, 70% of the economy is consumer spending. Last month, retail sales were down 0.2. This month, it was up 0.1, but that really shows some strain in consumers. Markets close tomorrow, that we're going to get a lot of Fed speakers the rest of the week, so the market's going to be listening closely to what may be happening with interest rates.
All right, thank you very much, John. And listen, find out about all the things that John Maxon and the other good people over at Beacon Capital Management can do for you to help you get ready for your retirement. Just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. 59 minutes now past the hour. All right, if you're in the market for a pole barn, two brothers that run Stoltz Co., two guys you really need to talk with. Exceptional quality, craftsmanship, and fair prices. That's what they're known for. They can build you your new pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind. That's the Stoltz Co. difference. You see, you can use pole barns for whole kinds of things. You can use it as a tool barn, a work barn, a garage, put your horses in a barn, your animals in a barn, or you can actually make it a place to live. That's called a barn dominium. So cool. They combine the classic look of a barn with the reliability of modern materials and techniques to give you a finished barn that will stand the test of time. They don't script on quality. They don't cut corners. They believe their customers deserve only the best. So why don't you go to their website and look at some of the things they've done for other people, and you'll get exactly what I'm talking about. It's really worth your time. And then give them a call at 615-622-5992. Stoltz Co. That's Stoltz Co., where you can find great customer service, quality workmanship, and everything is affordable. Learn more at stoltzco.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Good afternoon. It's 1 minute past 4 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds. Gee, we've dropped some degrees. Not quite as hot. We're at 86 degrees on Music Row. We'll get a full forecast and another traffic report in just a few moments. The Nashville Medical Examiner releasing the autopsy report of Riley Strain, the 22-year-old Missouri college student who was found dead 2 weeks after he went missing from downtown Nashville. The report indicates that Strain died of alcohol poisoning and drowning. His matter of death deemed accidental. The report says that Strain's blood alcohol content was 0.228. That's nearly 3 times the legal limit to operate a motor vehicle. He also had Delta 9, which is a legal form of THC, in his system. Strain's body was found on March 22nd, 8 miles downriver from where he was last seen in downtown Nashville. The Tennessee Alcoholic Beverage Commission, they're investigating whether where else Mr. Strain may have been served alcohol on that fatal night and whether anyone else may be responsible for over-serving him. Up on Capitol Hill, the CEO of Boeing says nothing is more important than the safety of the people on their airplanes. The CEO, David Calhoun, testified before Capitol Hill today. It's the first time Calhoun has been in front of Congress after a panel blew off a Boeing plane back in January of this year. Here's Perry Russum. He's in D.C. covering the story.
Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun says the company's culture is far from perfect, but they are taking action and making progress.
We've asked every one of our employees to consider themselves an aviation safety advocate. We're committed to making sure every employee feels empowered to speak up if they see a problem.
A new whistleblower at Boeing is coming forward, a quality assurance inspector. They accuse Boeing of cutting corners by using parts that should be thrown away. A spokesperson for Boeing says they're reviewing the claims.
And trouble for singer and actor Justin Timberlake up in New York. Here's Derek Dennis with that story.
The Crimea River singer's arrest happened overnight Tuesday morning. Police say Timberlake was driving a 2025 BMW when he allegedly blew a stop sign and swerved into oncoming traffic in Sag Harbor Village in the Hamptons, a vacation hotspot on Long Island's East End. Police say the 43-year-old singer failed to stop and failed to maintain his lane of traffic. When officers did pull Timberlake over, they say he was operating the vehicle while intoxicated. He was placed under arrest and held until his arraignment before a judge, then released on his own recognizance.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Hey, everybody, it's 8 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Hour number 2 of the drive now underway. How are you doing on this pleasant Tuesday? I mean, it's still, I guess, still a little steamy outside, but 86 degrees, not high, quite as warm as it's been the last few days. Nonetheless, we hope that you're getting home safely and that you'll enjoy our time together as I try to bring you up to speed on what happened since you went to work this morning. Now you headed home. I'm trying to bring you up to speed on everything. Time for our 2024 update, which listen, this is going to be a feature of this program every day until we get to Election Day. And then you know what happens? Then we have, it's the transition, and then we have the inauguration. I mean, we are into it. We're actually, when you think about when early voting begins, we're not that far away. So we need to start paying close attention to all this stuff. Trump is currently favored to win the 2024 election according to the 538 election model. 538, this is 538.com. This is run by ABC News forecaster Nate, what's his name? Nate Silver. And so what they do is they run a bunch of different scenarios, and then they tell you who wins most of the scenarios. It's all computer-based. I think there are algorithms involved. And you know how I am about math. I don't understand algorithms, but one way or the other, there's some algorithms involved in this and some deep computer stuff. Anyway, here's the bottom line. Trump wins 50 times out of 100 when they run these different scenarios. Biden wins 49 times out of 100. So not a huge lead. Trump currently has 271 projected electoral votes compared to 267 for Biden. I don't think it's going to be that close, but this is, 538, and this is their model. Here's the interesting thing, though. Here's why that matters. Trump did not lead a 538 election forecast ever in the 2016 or the 2020 election when he was running for president. According to the official website, 538.com uses polling, economic, and demographic data to explore likely election outcomes. Okay, just passing it on. I was a bit surprised. One of the things that I've been shocked by is that some states where, it's looking like, Trump could do okay. Like he's in the hunt in Virginia. He's in the hunt in Minnesota. And he's leading in a lot of the other battleground states. But the thing I honestly was a little surprised by was polling that showed it a bit more close in Florida than I imagined it would be. And so this story comes from the New York Times. Take it with a grain of salt. Democrats see glimmer of hope in Florida. Are they seeing things? They are veering from cautious optimism to complete pessimism about their long odds this year, with 2 liberal-leaning state ballot measures having the potential to lift turnout. Donald J. Trump, Don DeSantis remade Florida into the red-hot center of the Republican universe, transforming the state into a bastion of power for their party. But now recent surveys show a tightening presidential race in Florida, having given some Democrats glimmers of hope that they could begin to claw their way back into contention. Here's what I'll always say about Florida, and you know what? You need to remember this, because when you do Florida, you'll find that deep downstate, down as far south, like down into Miami and all the way to the Keys, very liberal, very liberal. There's a certain road in there, I think they call it I-4, the I-4 corridor, I believe that's correct. That's very purple. And then when you get out in the western part of the state, in the Panhandle, it's very conservative. They call it L.A., Lower Alabama. And it is really very, very conservative. And so when the numbers come in, well, some of the first numbers that come in out of Florida are going to be out of the big metropolitan areas, Miami-Dade, et cetera. And when you get those numbers, then it'll look, well, the Democrats are doing very well. And then the I-4 corridor comes in and the numbers ameliorate somewhat and they start to even up a little bit. And then here comes, and it's in a different time zone and everything, so it takes a little while for those numbers out of the western part of the state to come in. But when they do come in, they're very heavily red. So if you get through the early part of the vote counting and you're not too far out of the hunt. If you say maybe it's close, maybe it looks like it's very close, or maybe even tied, don't worry, because the western part of the state will finish strong for conservatives and for Republicans. It's a military area, big, heavy turnout for conservatives in that part of the state. So it's an interesting state. It's interesting in that the northern part of the state is conservative and the southern part of the state is very liberal. Isn't that something? So anyway, but I think the last survey I saw had Trump leading by only 4. And I was surprised by that. So I don't know if that's an anomaly, but again, I think it's worthy of watching. Told you about this in Iowa yesterday, but here's a story about it. And this is in the Post-Millennial. Trump takes a massive 50-32 lead over Biden in Iowa. It's a Des Moines Register poll. It's supposed to be a pretty good poll, a pretty reliable poll. The last poll taken by the Register had Trump at 48-33, and now he's 50-32. So it has widened only since the last poll they took. It was of 630 likely Iowa voters between June 19th and 14th with a margin of error of about 4 points. The poll comes weeks after Trump was convicted, so it didn't seem to hurt him. His numbers are up from the last time they took the poll. So anyway, his convictions on these charges, said one person that they interviewed, are part of the reason my mind is made up. The more they try to get him out of the picture, the stronger they make him. I, for one, believe the charges are bogus. Many of Trump's supporters feel similarly. After the court decision came down, over $400 million had been raised by the Trump campaign as of early June. Among those who said they would support Trump in the upcoming election, 76% of them said their mind was made up. Biden supporters are more locked in at 81%, said their mind is made up. Among those polled, Biden's approval rating has been in decline, remains a low of 28%. That's his approval rating in Iowa. Okay, Iowa, it usually trends red. Not a big surprise that Trump is leading there, but that his lead is growing is worth noting. And does that speak about a really good turnout in other parts of the country, near Iowa, like Minnesota, don't you know? Where we talked about that yesterday, some of the Minnesota numbers. Trump is definitely in the hunt in that battleground state. So it's interesting to watch that. I don't know what this is just hard to believe. Mitch Landrieu, co-chair for President Joe Biden's campaign, told CNN he is puzzled as to why Americans are concerned about Biden's mental acuity amid public appearances being constantly riddled with manifestations of his advanced age, which is 81. Mitch Landrieu says, I can't see it. Well, I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that, he goes and has a big thing in L.A. among all the glitterati and the Hollywood stars and starlets. And at the end of the thing, Barack Obama had to grab him by the wrist and escort him off the stage like he didn't know where to go. So I don't know. He said, Landrieu says, I wonder why anyone is questioning Joe Biden's mental acuity. He said, Donald Trump can't string 2 sentences together. I mean, this is the biggest joke in the world. Honestly, this guy is living in an alternate universe. He's not living in the same universe I'm living in. He said, my president's going to show up on time, on task, and he's going to give it to Donald Trump next week at the big debate. 27th, are you ready for that? Whew, that's going to be something, isn't it? But is he just saying that to try to push back on the idea that everybody else see? Are they just trying to fix that? I mean, by denying that there's a problem, I don't know that you're making it any better. But in his world, he sees the world a little different than I do. That's for sure. And here's another story, this one from redstate.com. Again, one of the big stories yesterday about the tremendous number of younger black voters who are moving away from Joe Biden and toward Donald Trump. As former President Donald Trump continues to gain support among black voters, the Biden campaign seems to believe the best way to win those voters back is to be in denial. Poll after poll has shown that Trump is gaining support among minority communities as President Biden's support is slipping. A USA Today Suffolk poll recently showed that Trump is gaining support among black voters in 2 swing states, Pennsylvania and Michigan. In 2020, Biden received 92% of the black vote nationwide. In Pennsylvania, 56.2% of black voters said they would vote for Biden. That's 20% lower, 20 percentage points lower than it was in 2020. Wow. In Michigan, Biden's support among black voters is down 22% from 2020. Despite what Biden's campaign co-chair Mitch Landrieu doesn't think these polls are a reality. He doesn't believe it. Well, I believe it because I've seen it replicated in poll after poll after poll after poll. Something is going on there. And, you know, and the spokesman for his campaign is a guy named Mike Tyler. And he said, don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
Over the weekend, the Trump campaign launched a Black Americans for Trump coalition. Your campaign mocked it and said it's not fooling anyone. But look at this. USA Today Suffolk polls show for Michigan and Pennsylvania specifically, these are 2 key swing states. They show President Biden has lost roughly 20 points among black voters in both of those states, down from 76% to the mid-50s. Of course, in a close election, that can make a huge difference. Why do you think the president is losing support with these voters?
Well, listen, this campaign is going to do very good amongst black voters because no administration has done more for black America than the Biden-Harris administration. You're
but
talking
why is he
about,
losing support right now?
Well, listen, this is what the campaign is for. We have to remind people of exactly where we have come from and where we are going. That's why we're running ads consistently. That's why we're reminding people of the things that this administration has done for black America.
Well, there you go. You know, they'll all be fine. No, they'll come back. I don't think they're coming back. By the way, with regard to that Iowa poll, here's an interesting little observation by the Daily Wire. He's up by 18 points. And in the last election, he won Iowa by 8. So he's up 10 points of where he was. And Meghan McCain, I don't know, she observed the following. Take it with a grain of salt. There is no scenario where Trump wins Iowa by 18 points, but loses Wisconsin. Isn't that interesting? And by the way, Ann Seltzer, who runs this poll in Iowa, is one of the best pollsters in the country, certainly the best pollster in Iowa, and it needs to be taken seriously. So what she is saying is that the fact that he's doing well in Iowa and he's up 10 points should bode well for other people who live in nearby Midwestern states. Wisconsin would be Minnesota. Those would be huge pickups, huge pickups. As I told you yesterday, as I did my 270 map, I think there are now 5 battleground states. You got Michigan, you got Minnesota, you got Pennsylvania, you got Minnesota, Wisconsin. And then the 5th one, I think, is Virginia. And the way I see it right now playing out, 5 battleground states, all he has to do is pick up 1, and he's got it. That's if everything else looks the way the polls are suggesting as a look in places like Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, et cetera. He's looking pretty good in those states. So if he just picks up 1 of those 5 really, really tough battleground states, he's in. It's the way it looks to me. And that Iowa poll is perhaps an indicator of how he's doing in the Midwest. 22 past the hour now. Do not miss this killer offer from Genesis Diamonds. 5 years, 0% interest financing through the end of the month. You've got to take action now. Time is running out. Not just on engagement rings, also on earrings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone, jewelry, pre-owned Rolex watches. Buy now, pay nothing down, spread your payments over 5 years, 0% interest. That $5,000 gift comes out to about, $85 a month. That luxury pre-owned Rolex Submariner, Datejust, or Explorer starts at only $150 a month. An insane offer. from the jeweler that's always finding ways to bring you more value. All GIA certified diamonds are included in this. Rounds, the princess cuts, the ovals, the pear shapes, the cushion cuts, the emerald cuts. Whether you get a $5,000 diamond or a $50,000 diamond, you can spread your payments over 5 years at 0% interest with approved credit. Lab-grown diamonds are also included. You get the Genesis value price on anything, and you can spread your payments over 5 years. But again, the offer ends June 30th and will not be extended. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. Details and more at genesisdiamonds.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
A Metro councilwoman filing a no-confidence resolution against members of the finance department here in Nashville. And we'll have today's closing money news. All that's coming up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 27 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson. Welcome to the drive on this June 18th. And let's get you home safely, all right? Everything going well? Did you have a good day at work? How was your day at work, honey? That's what I always ask Cabana wife when she comes home.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you, how's your day at work, honey?
Oh, you're talking to me now?
No, I'm talking to the listeners out in the cars.
Oh.
They're talking to me now. I can hear them.
Oh, you can hear them. I can't hear them.
Yeah. The little holes in the radio speaker, I can see through those.
You can see through them?
Yeah, people didn't know that. It's a big radio secret, yeah. No, I want to make sure you're doing well. Very tragic story today. We have been watching this story for some time now about Riley Strain, this Missouri student who was down here in Nashville with a bunch of his friends. Look, the bottom line is he had too much to drink. And that has now been confirmed by the toxicology report, which has come back. He had multiple alcohol drinks. His blood alcohol was nearly 3 times the legal limit to drive. So he was drunk. Let's just be honest about it. And on top of all that, they found Delta-9 residue in his bloodstream. This is those let's call the gummies that are legal that have THC in them in the state of Tennessee. Apparently, one presumes he had a gummy before he went drinking, and so that was in his system as well. Nicotine, but the main thing was alcohol, and so he gets disoriented. He's been kicked out of a bar. He's starting to try to walk back to the hotel. It gets turned around. Apparently, ends up down by the river near Gay Street, and then. Apparently, the police say he fell into the river. It's a very steep embankment that was overgrown at the time, and he fell into the river, the Cumberland River, and because of recent rains, the river was running a little swifter than normal, and he drowned. That's what they say. He drowned. They go through it and give a lot of details about the autopsy. They say, look, for example, let me see if I can find this story. It tells you a little bit more about the autopsy. Said that he was wearing a black and tan shirt, black and tan button-down shirt. He was in his underwear, black socks, his trauma, and 2 necklaces. The examination of his body revealed no signs of trauma. So I have questions, though, when I read this. Now, look, they say no signs of trauma, and the cause of death was that he drowned. Something happened there on the bank, right? First of all, where are his pants? It would be almost impossible for his pants and his shoes to come off. I just don't understand how that could happen. So where are his pants? And what about the fact that they found on the bank of the river near where he fell in his ATM card? So how did he get out of his pants? How did he get his shoes off? And then how did he fall into the river? And why was his ATM card found on the bank where they think he fell in? I don't think those questions have been answered. And I don't know that we'll ever get the answers to them. We know the cause of death. He's in the river and he drowned. And he was intoxicated at the time. So that seems to be the cause of death. But there's still some questions about this thing that I don't quite understand. Everybody seems prepared to just sort of roll over and accept, okay, well, he drank too much and he drowned, fell in the river and drowned. Okay, I still want to know about the pants. I still want to know about the tennis shoes. I still want to know about the ATM card. How did that all come to be? What happened in those moments? We know he was seen at one point by a police officer, and they had a pleasant exchange. We know that he was so drunk that he fell over and fell down, while trying to walk down the street. It was that obvious in the videos that we've seen. But there's something else about this story that seems to be missing to me, and I don't know. I don't know that we'll ever get the answers, but at least now we have some of the answers from that toxicology report. It's 31 now past the hour. Time for the news with Jay Harper.
Good afternoon. It is 4:31, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds, 86 degrees on Music Row, a complete weather forecast, and a traffic report are coming up in mere minutes. News Channel 5 reporting that Metro Councilwoman Joyce Stiles, she's filed a no-confidence resolution for Metro Director of Finance Kevin Crumbo and Metro Director Wallace Dietz for the mishandling of grant funding due to what she says is personal grievances and personal relationships. Last summer, the agency pledged grant money to a diverse group of arts organizations, and many applicants say they haven't been paid. A number of organizations are supporting the resolution. They all plan to hold a press conference here in about an hour today in Nashville. Turning now to our closing money news for the day, here's Chuck Siebertson.
From ABC News, Wall Street Now, the staggering run for NVIDIA's stock carried it to the market's mountaintop Tuesday, becoming the most valuable company on Wall Street. It was the strongest force pushing the S&P 500 upward again. NVIDIA is riding the wave of a more specific tech surge, this time in artificial intelligence. NVIDIA's chips are helping to develop AI. The demand for them has been more than predicted. The major indexes drifted and then surged a bit at the end. The Dow up 57, the S&P 500 up 14, the Nasdaq gained 5 points. Treasury yields fell after a report showed sales at U.S. retailers returned to growth last month, but remained below economist expectations. It may be encouraging to the Federal Reserve, which wants to get inflation a little lower before it cuts interest rates. Google says it will invest an additional $2.3 billion to support 3 data center campuses in central Ohio.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Let me tell you about the folks over at Eurofix. It's exciting news. If you've been around here for a long time, you know about Eurofix. They've been the place to go for European car repair needs for some 24 years, almost a quarter century. And you've got to watch them grow. I don't know about you, but I love it when a company does well, a local company takes off. They are now proud to announce their 5th location for a Eurofix dealership in Mount Juliet, on Mount Juliet Road, right across from the Dairy Queen. Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now in Mount Juliet. Pretty cool, getting to watch a small-town mechanic who started in a barn in the backyard of his single-wide trailer grow to 5 locations where he is now repairing thousands of cars each month. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty. At Eurofix, you get a free loaner car with every repair appointment. So if you've got a European car, you need to go to Eurofix. Call 844-EUROFIX. That's 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Oh, I'm supposed to do this. I told you I was going to do that. It's a woke world. Da, ba, ba, ba. Well, it is a woke world. Oh, the children are not done singing. Okay. I thought they were finished. I thought they were wrapping up. All right, that song will be in your head all day long for the rest of the day, won't it?
Thanks.
Here you go. Woke World News. This from the Daily Wire. The top intelligence agency in the United States is celebrating Pride Month. I'm just going to read this because I don't need to add any commentary to it. By inviting agents to have the transgender flag painted on their nails, participate in a Pride Alley challenge, and learn from a non-binary Filipinx activist who has taught children about her non-binary identity, a document exclusively obtained by the Daily Wire has revealed. The intelligence document, yes, this comes from our intelligence community, outlines 9 different Pride Month activities held by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Who is the ODNI? The ODNI is the person at the very top of the food chain for our national intelligence. Every agency that gathers intelligence ultimately funnels into the ODNI. The ODNI is at the top of the food chain over, well, the CIA, parts of the FBI, the NSA, and the intelligence components of each military branch. So this person sits at the very, very top of our intelligence gathering, and they are making sure that there are going to be 9 different Pride Month activities. The document goes on to say, for nail painting, we'll have our pro team of artists ready to decorate you for Pride Month with the option of celebrating pride or trans flag colors. The document reads, before further encouraging intelligence agents to have their nails painted, if you don't normally paint your nails or have never done so, all the better. We'll do everything for you, and you might just love it. What better way to show your allyship in the community? The elaborate array of Pride celebrations, all of which occur during the work hours of America's top intelligence apparatus, demonstrates one of the most blatant ways in which the most powerful instruments of the federal government have been captured and leveraged by left-wing ideologues, writes the Daily Wire. Representative Mike Waltz is a member of the House Select Committee on Intelligence, a combat-decorated U.S. Army veteran who fought in the elite Green Berets. He confirmed the authenticity of the document with the intelligence community. He said, it's another example of the Biden administration wasting valuable time and resources away from serious intelligence gathering activities that are vital to our national security. Look, at a time when we have a situation where we have our FBI director saying, and people in the intelligence community saying, all of the signs are blinking red. All of the signs are blinking red. That you know, with what we have in the way of open borders, there's no telling who's in this country. It's a tense time for a potential terrorist attack against this country. And okay, we're spending time at the CIA, FBI, NSA, and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence painting our fingernails or painting or crocheting pride flags. That's one of the other options. You can crochet a pride flag. Look, I don't care. I honestly don't care if you're gay. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't understand it, but I don't have to understand it. I want you to be the best person you can be. But there's a time and a place for everything, isn't there? And at a time when we are told by our intelligence officials that there are real concerns out there about attack against the homeland. Is this what we need to be focused on? Isn't this a distraction? I would like it better if perhaps that was done after hours. I don't know. Have an after hour thing where you get your fingernails painted. But when you're at work, you ought to be at work. Here's another woke story from Breitbart. Boys across 6 states have left girls in the dust and taken track and field titles and other placing positions for them despite being a tiny percentage of high school athletes. 5 boys who claim to identify as girls have won titles in Connecticut, New Hampshire, Maine, Oregon, and Washington, according to the Washington Times. 3 other boys who competed did not place first, but took spots away from girls in events in the states of Connecticut, Hawaii, and Washington. The issue of transgender athletes in primary and secondary education has been contentious. To date, 24 states have passed some measure of bans on restrictions on transgender athletes in state-sponsored school and athletic contests, but the rest of the country has gone in the opposite direction. As you know, Joe Biden has changed the interpretation of Title IX rules and also mandated the inclusion of transgender athletes, although that is being challenged in some courts. In the state of Tennessee, we got a ruling, I think it was yesterday, that said we don't have to go along with that particular policy being promulgated by the White House with regard to Title IX while the case is under further review. But, again, there are biological boys who identify as girls who are winning titles and taking opportunities away from female athletes. It is definitely happening. Finally, it is Pride Month, and as you know, some companies decide to go all out with Pride merchandise, etc., and that's been a big thing in the recent year. But after the whole Bud Light debacle with Dylan Mulvaney, the story that I'm reading here in Woke Spy says, it quotes actually an Associated Press story saying, analysts and advocates say the marketing is toned down compared to previous years, and at some change, there's no trace of pride at all. One maker of gender-neutral clothing quoted the article and said he saw a 25% drop over last June. Bud Light has not mentioned Pride Month in its social media. Target hasn't posted about Pride Month on its social media. North Face didn't release a Pride collection this year. All companies face major blowback from conservatives for past Pride initiatives. On social media, queer influencers have seen a sizable decline in income for Pride Month. The Nike people don't mention Pride at all, although they do mention that they had a collection last year and you can still buy some of that stuff. But I guess what's happening is a lot of people have decided that woke can make you go broke, as the saying goes, and we're walking away from it. There is a transition back away from that stuff. And again, I don't care. I really don't care. If you're gay, and I want you to be you. I don't understand it, don't have to understand it. You be you. The libertarian in me says, I live my life, you live your life. But, don't try to expect me to understand the things that are going on in your life. I'll be polite to you. If you live in my neighborhood, I'd invite you over for a barbecue. I really would do that. I just don't care. It doesn't bother me. I don't understand it, but I don't care. I just don't particularly want the ideology to be, shoved in my face everywhere I go. After all, I don't go around, shoving my heterosexuality. Oh, yes, I am definitely a heterosexual. I just want people to know that. I don't go around shoving my heterosexuality in your face, and I just don't think it's something that we need to have polite conversation about. All right, I just don't. So, good. Go get your nails painted after hours if you don't mind. Keep an eye on the country. Keep us safe. And everything will be fine. But it is interesting that so many different corporations are now pulling back from that and understanding that it's just not worth it for us to go down that pathway. And so the old saying that woke can lead to broke is really true. I mean, it's been a problem for Disney. It's been a problem for Bud Light, been a problem for Target at times. So many other companies, they have just decided basically we don't really need to go there that badly. It is 49 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock. Are your retirement assets structured to minimize taxes? This may be hard to believe, but many hardworking Americans just like you could be overpaying on taxes in retirement. Now, you can be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, any other tax-deferred retirement accounts, and Beacon Capital Management is here to give you peace of mind. With the threat of massive tax increases just around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax-saving strategies now. Defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. No cost, no pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, don't wait any longer. Schedule your free retirement tax reduction analysis from Beacon. Very simple. One of two ways you can start this process. You can call them, and this is the best way, 615-488-9303. Tell them you heard about this ad. They'll get you started. Or you can go and find more about all this at their website, askbeaconnow.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
The Israeli prime minister accusing the U.S. of delaying weapon shipments will have the Pentagon's response. No more ringy-dingy in the nation's second-largest school district. We'll explain that. And the arrest of a Hermitage man uncovers his rather cramped living quarters. We'll have those stories at 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, they say money can't buy you happiness, but you know what? It is the other way around. Happiness can bring you money. Did you know that? According to some folks, Tammy Mueller is a happiness trainer and a positive psychology coach.
A happiness trainer?
Yeah. She looks very happy.
Okay.
She says that listen, you know, money can't buy you happiness, but happy people make good money. Happy people make more money, have better relationships, are more successful in life, not vice versa. You can be happy now, and at the same time, you can save money. That is really active acceptance. So basically what they're saying is that, you know, happy people basically are positive in the workplace. They seem to succeed because they have an upbeat, positive look. They're not always, you know, Debbie Downer, you know, Ned negative. They're not doing that. And so it really helps you to be in the workplace, I suppose, and people who are happy generally on across the board do find success.
Sounds like something employers came up with to have their employees be in better moods. That's what it sounds like to me.
I don't know. You know, I have my moments, I guess, like everybody else, where I'm not particularly happy with things. But I try to think of myself as rather optimistic and upbeat. Would you agree or would you disagree?
I would agree. Yeah.
I mean, I like to be. I look at the glass as being half full rather than half empty. I'm an optimistic person. But apparently. They say that happy people do well in the workplace. And they say when it comes to having better relationship, the happiest people are those who live longest, prioritize and strengthen their personal connections, and they live longer than people who are negative. So don't worry, be happy.
We had to just listen to, what was his name?
Oh, I can't remember the guy's
Bobby
name.
McFerrin.
There you go. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you very much.
Bobby McFerrin.
There when we needed you, Jay Harper. 58 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Good afternoon. It's 5 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds and there's actually some light rain in the area as well. 86 degrees on Music Row. A complete forecast and the latest traffic report are upcoming. The White House says only one shipment of weapons has been paused to Israel, responding to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's accusation that the Biden administration is dragging its feet and withholding weapons deliveries. Pentagon Press Secretary Major General Pat Ryder today declined to address the prime minister's claims, but he did make it clear that the U.S. government remains committed to Israel's right to defend itself.
Since Hamas's vicious attack on October 7th, we've rushed billions of dollars of security assistance to Israel to enable them to defend themselves, and we're going to continue to provide them with the security assistance they need, for defense.
On the west coast of the U.S., the nation's second largest school district has decided to ban cell phone use by students on their campuses. Here's ABC's Alex Stone. He's in Los Angeles.
L.A. school board members say teachers are asking for help, that policing kids using their phones in classrooms has become a major problem, and now the board has voted for a ban on cell phone use on campuses. It will impact around 500,000 students. LAUSD board member Nick Melvoin.
The schools that have gone farther and that have already implemented a phone-free school day report incredible results. Kids are happier. They're talking to one another. Their academics are up.
Details of the ban will be worked out later, like how to regulate smartwatches.
On Capitol Hill, the CEO of Boeing says nothing's more important than the safety of the people on their aircraft. The CEO, David Calhoun, testified on Capitol Hill today. It's the first time he's been in front of Congress after the panel on a Boeing plane flew off the jet back in January. Here's ABC's Perry Russum.
Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun says the company's culture is far from perfect, but they are taking action and making progress.
We've asked every one of our employees to consider themselves an aviation safety advocate. We're committed to making sure every employee feels empowered to speak up if they see a problem.
A new whistleblower at Boeing is coming forward, a quality assurance inspector. They accuse Boeing of cutting corners by using parts that should be thrown away. A spokesperson for Boeing says they're reviewing the claims.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, a man was arrested for aggravated stalking after police say he was living under a Hermitage woman's house. A Metro Police arrest affidavit says police were called to a Rachel Square Drive residence in regards to a burglary. When they arrived, the victim told police that her ex-boyfriend, identified as Anthony Rodriguez, was yelling and threatening her at her front door. The suspect then fled on foot before police got there, but they ultimately caught the guy. The affidavit also states that officers made contact with a second victim, the next-door neighbor of Rodriguez's ex-girlfriend. The neighbor stated she thought somebody was living under her house in the crawl space. Police checked it out, and they found Rodriguez's clothing and personal items and his Tennessee driver's license. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a Guaranteed Offer and start packing.
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's 5 o'clock. Well, it's not evening yet. It's still late afternoon. We don't actually say evening till 6 o'clock hour. So I'm jumping the gun here a little bit. So good afternoon, good late afternoon to you. 5:07 on Super Talk. Now, that's a great way to start the show right there with an immediate correction, right? Start the hour with an immediate correction. 5:07, which is still afternoon, and we're glad you're with us on the drive. We'll try to improve this hour starting right now. You know, we'll do it over again.
This is take 2, and good luck with your performance.
There you go. All right, we'll try it again. I want to talk about the border situation. We got a lot of stuff to cover there with regard to that. A big announcement from the Biden administration. It is sweeping protections for migrant spouses of U.S. citizens. The President of the United States making this announcement today from the White House.
The second action I'm announcing today was about keeping families together. My dad used to have an expression. He said, Joey, family's about the beginning, middle, and the end.
You know, I wish his dad were the President of the United States. His dad's, I mean, he's always quoting his dad saying something profound. You would think maybe some of that would have rubbed off on his son, because he never says anything profound now. I mean, I would really like to have met old man Biden, but I digress.
About keeping couples together who are married, where one spouse is a U.S. citizen, the other is undocumented. They've been living in the United States for at least 10 years. These couples have been raising families, sending their kids to church and school, paying taxes, contributing to our country for 10 years or more, but living in the United States all this time with fear and uncertainty. We can fix that, and that's what I'm going to do today. Fix it. Here's the point. It doesn't require any fundamental change in our immigration law. Today I'm announcing a common sense fix to streamline the process for obtaining legal status for immigrants married to American citizens who lived here for a long time. For those wives or husbands and their children who have lived in America for a decade or more but are undocumented, this action will allow them to file the paperwork for legal status in the United States, allow them to work while they remain with their families in the United States. Let's be clear, this action still requires undocumented spouses to file all required legal paperwork to remain in the United States. It requires them to pass the criminal background checks, and it doesn't apply to anyone trying to come here today. This action is a better way. It doesn't tear families apart while requiring every undocumented spouse to fulfill their obligations under the law. Look, the actions I'm announcing today will go into effect later this summer. And by the way, just as was true for the protection of dreamers, the steps I'm taking today are overwhelmingly supported by the American people, no matter what the other team says.
Well, the other team says that, really this is not the way to solve it through executive action. If you want to do this, let's do it through legislation. But, even when Democrats were in charge of both the House and Senate, they couldn't push this through. So, if he tries to blame it on Republicans not wanting to work on this issue, that's not true. Even Democrats couldn't agree on it. But one way or the other, again, this is Joe Biden being Joe Biden. Here we go. What does it tell us? The White House says it expects the policy will offer protection to about 500,000 American families, which would include roughly 50,000 people under the age of 21 who are married to or are children of a U.S. citizen. All right? Married to, or you have a kid who was born in the United States. According to the eligibility requirement for the new rules, which is done by executive order, not by law, that spouses of Americans must have resided in the U.S. for 10 years or more and be legally married to U.S. citizens while satisfying other immigration requirements. Those who are approved under the program will be able to apply for permanent U.S. residency after a 3-year period while also being eligible to work authorization in the U.S. for up to 3 years. The president's new rule would ease the visa process on U.S. college graduates, including recipients of the DACA kids, to stay in the U.S. if they received a degree from a U.S. educational institution and have an offer of an employment from a U.S.-based company. So there you have it. And now look, here's what they say. Look, this only applies to people who've been here for 10 years, Now, we also took executive actions the other day to try to shut down the border, and we said that anybody who comes here illegally cannot find a pathway to amnesty. Well, all they got to do is stay here 10 years. And, you know, there's a lot of people who've been in this country illegally for 10 years or more. Or we wouldn't have, this wouldn't mean anything. So, you know, when you come across the border right now, you get a piece of paper that says, check in with us in 6 years, would you? You actually get a notice to appear, and the notice to appear is like 6 years down the path. So if you can make it that 6 years and then drag your feet for another 4, then you can then qualify, and you're married to somebody who's a U.S. citizen, then you then would qualify to stay in this country. It's another loophole, and I'm not sure that he has the executive authority to do it. We'll find out. There's no doubt this will be challenged somewhere by the courts. But, you know, one way or the other, this is, again, the president unable to put together any kind of legislative accomplishment on this. He's unwilling to sit down and truly negotiate with Republicans in the House. Republicans in the House are not saying that they won't talk about immigration. They're simply saying the things that you insisted upon it are not something that is palatable to us. We can't go for it. The Biden plan, when it was laid out there, was to hire a bunch of people to go down there and process more paperwork, to make the system faster, not to do anything to stem the flow of people coming into this country, because they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. They want as many people to come in, because as soon as they can find some way to figure out a pathway to residency, citizenship, then they know they're going to have a bunch of voters who are going to vote Democratic, and that's what it's all about, changing the voting demographics of this country, and they ultimately open the borders with a hope that they can find ways like this to find a pathway to citizenship for people who've come to this country illegally. By the way, the thing at the border not working at all, not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. I mean, you know, apparently it's the same number of people that are coming across. Not many of them are from Mexico or Central America or South America. Most of them seem to be from places like China and Tajikistan and, you know, all over the world, but certainly not from the Mexico or Central or Southern America, South America. By the way, today in the briefing, Karine Jean-Pierre was asked, will there be more executive actions like this?
Does the White House feel that it is that President Biden has exhausted everything that he can do on this matter by executive order?
Yeah. I mean, but look, you see the president making an announcement. He's going to make an announcement today. He took an executive action a couple weeks ago. We continue to say we're going to look to see what else we can do, and this is what he's directed his team to do. Right, is to look at ways that we can deal with this broken immigration system. But this is piecemeal, right? I mean,
it's piecemeal. What we need is congressional action. You know what? Again, you could have congressional action if you were willing to actually sit down. See, the thing is, when you're the president of the United States, and you have the Republicans in control of the House of Representatives, albeit by a very thin margin. You can't just insist that it be your way or the highway, because you've got to give the Republicans something that they want. And what they wanted was more border walls and more security and a shutdown that would actually stop the flow of immigrants. What the Biden people wanted was people to process paperwork, to babysit and change diapers, whatever they're doing down there. That's what it was. Here's an interesting story from the Federalist. It says, Biden's executive actions on the border are making things worse. In reality, the order was a fig leaf to cover what amounts to Biden's ongoing open border policy that allows for mass illegal immigration. It was so riddled with exceptions and loopholes anyone could see that it was plainly a political stunt. Then last week, news media reported that Biden is expected to announce this thing we talked about today. There you go. A policy whiplash here, pretending to secure the border one week, the next week floating plans to grant a mass amnesty is a testament to the impossible political reality of Biden's situation vis-a-vis the border. The open border radicals that hold sway in the Democrat Party need to be appeased with mass amnesty after even the appearance of a border crackdown by the Biden White House. Again, they're not doing anything at all. Now, let's talk about, why this is a problem. Why, again, I'm not saying that everybody who comes across the border is a heinous human being, but clearly some are. And they found that out in Harford County, Maryland, where they are reeling from the heinous murder and sexual abuse of a mother of 5 people in Harford County, Maryland. The sheriff had a very pointed message for the people in Washington when he talked about this in a press conference.
Rachel was not his first victim, and it's my understanding that this suspect, this monster, fled to the United States illegally after committing the brutal murder of a young woman in El Salvador a month early in January of 2023. Once in our country, and likely emboldened by his anonymity, he brutally attacked a 9-year-old girl and her mother during a home invasion in March of 2023 in Los Angeles. And as everyone I believe is aware, that was our first DNA match linking Rachel's case to the Los Angeles case. It has been a fear of mine that once we identified this suspect, the result would be exactly this. And I want to now direct these comments to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and to every member in both chambers of Congress. We are 1,800 miles away here in Harford County. We are 1,800 miles away from the southern border, and the American citizens are not safe because of failed immigration policies. This is the second time in just 2 years that an innocent Harford County woman has lost her life to a criminal in our country illegally. Let me repeat that. 1,800 miles from the southern border, and this is the second woman in our county to be killed by an illegal alien. In both cases, they are suspects from El Salvador with ties to criminal gangs. Should not be happening. Victor Hernandez did not come here to make a better life for himself or for his family. He came here to escape the crime he committed in El Salvador. He came here and murdered Rachel, and God willing, no one else. But that should have never been allowed to happen.
Here's another case. A migrant arrested in broad daylight for the rape of a 13-year-old in a New York park. An illegal immigrant from Ecuador is in New York Police Department custody after a broad daylight sex attack in which police said a machete-wielding man approached 2 13-year-olds, 1 boy and 1 girl, tied them together by the wrist, and raped the girl at a popular park in Queens. The person's name is Christian Giovanni Ingolandi. A 25-year-old from Ecuador entered the country illegally in 2021 near Eagle Pass, Texas, with his 3-year-old child. The NYPD leaders revealed during a news briefing on Tuesday. That is today. Police arrested surveillance video showing him near the scene of the crime. Tips started pouring in. Listen to this. This is amazing. Ultimately, a group of at least 10 neighbors swarmed him and held him until police arrived around 1 a.m. Tuesday. Everybody knew who we were looking for, said Chief Joseph Kinney. We had tips coming in actually naming the perpetrator. They knew who he was. They saw him out on the street. We saw from body cam video at least 10 neighborhood people trying to do the right thing. That's what it's come to in this country, is that the people are having to take matters into their own hands. So, again, not everybody who comes to this country is a heinous criminal, but a great number of them are not good people. And we really ought to be concerned about who we're letting into this country. We're not able to vet these people very accurately because the countries from which they come do not assist us in giving us any background information about them. They show up at the border, they're waved through, they're told, go to America and we'll be in touch, okay? America's that way, enjoy your life. And it's a big sham. And they're not stopping the border flow with anything they're doing now. In just a moment, another reason why you should be concerned about what's happening at the border. It has to do with the number of Chinese who are coming to this country and what they may really be up to. 22 past the hour. You know, as much as we'd like it to be the case, there are no pills or spinal creams that can magically open up your spinal disc and take the pressure off your nerves. You have a couple of choices: surgery or non-invasive spinal decompression. I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. That's right. They're state-of-the-art facilities and have the latest in high-tech equipment and offers the latest non-surgical procedures. Now, I've gone through this. I had real problems with my neck and my lower back, and it really helped me a lot. It can help you as well, I'm certain. Because getting better is so important, Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley are offering half off spinal decompression treatment and half off the KT machine, which is kind of like spinal decompression, but it's really aimed at helping you with your knee problems. You got knee problems, talk to the doc about that. Listen, what do you get? Well, you get an exam, consultation, and first treatment. If you're a new patient, only $23. I'm Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So call them today at 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
The mass murderer who sprayed gunfire at a Colorado nightclub back in 2022 has been sentenced today, and federal prosecutors in Los Angeles confirming a long-suspected drug cartel link And the world has a new most valuable corporation. We'll have those stories coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, thank you, Jay Harper. There's Jay Harper in the newsroom, Chris Weber in the control room. We were talking about, the people who are coming across the border illegally and what a problem it is. Listen to this. This is very scary stuff. As more Chinese nationals from adversarial nations cross the border, national security concerns have risen, especially as military bases are being breached. Fears of attacks on the homeland and foreign espionage stemming from the border crisis are growing in light of illegal immigrants breaching military installations. Remember, we had those two people who were from, where were they from? I forget where. Oh, yeah, from Turkey, I think it was. Is that right? But somewhere in the Mideast. That were apparently Jordanians. They were Jordanians. They tried to get into the military base at Quantico with a truck, and they got arrested, and they weren't in this country legally. A lot of people look at that and say it was a dry run. It was a test of the systems to see whether they would be stopped if they tried to socially engineer their way into the base with a big truck. They didn't do it. We have 8 Tajikistan nationals who have been arrested, who came into this country illegally, and they were talking about blowing things up, and that was a concern. But now there's some concern about the number of Chinese who are coming. One of the fastest growing groups of illegal immigrants arriving from hostile countries is China. In the first 7 months of this fiscal year, beginning October 23, border agents have apprehended 48,500 Chinese illegal immigrants, which stands to smash the 2023 fiscal year record of 52,700. So we're on par to almost double that number. At the same time, Chinese nationals and others from adversarial nations have increasingly been caught attempting to access America's military bases. According to a member of the Intelligence Committee, his name is Pat Fallon, Republican from Texas. He says that this is a big problem, and he went to a classified hearing to talk about this. Here's what he said after hearing the information from our intelligence officials. Dozens of incidents have come to light of Chinese nationals snapping photos near military installations and critical infrastructure such as reservoirs, claiming to be tourists even when the facilities are rural and isolated. And Navy Admiral Daryl Caudle said in a recent interview that incidents of foreign nationals from China and Russia trying to breach Navy bases occur 2 to 3 times a week. A week! These are people in possession of authority and power that want to stick their heads up in the sand and say, oh, there's nothing wrong here, nothing to worry about, as thousands of military-aged Chinese men enter the country illegally. It could be the Chinese are probing how the United States responds and how close they can get to the bases. All I know is we keep hearing things like the signs are blinking red, that something is going to happen. And if you were a foreign intelligence agency or a country that didn't have our best interests at heart, I swear I know you would take advantage. We would do the same thing in another country. They're taking advantage of the chaos on the border to put their people and infiltrate their people into this country. And now they're showing up at military bases doing spy work. Be afraid, ladies and gentlemen. This whole system is messed up. 30 minutes now past the hour.
Good afternoon. It's 5:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds and some light scattered showers in some of our listening area. 87 degrees now. A complete weather forecast as well as a traffic report are on the way. The shooter who killed 5 people and wounded a dozen others at an LGBTQ nightclub in Colorado Springs, Colorado back in 2022, he accepted a plea deal today, pleading guilty to each of the 74 hate crime charges against him. He was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole, followed by another 190-year sentence. Here's Assistant Attorney General for the DOJ, Kristen Clark.
We know that today's severe sentence can't bring back loved ones, heal injuries, or dissipate the lingering trauma. But today's sentencing should send a loud message. We will not tolerate hate in our country.
We now head to Los Angeles, where federal prosecutors say they have found the first ever clear link between the Sinaloa drug cartel and Chinese money laundering. ABC's Alex Stone is in L.A.
In a new indictment unsealed, federal prosecutors here in L.A. named 24 defendants, 20 of whom are in custody, including in China and Mexico. U.S. prosecutors allege the Sinaloa drug cartel has been utilizing Chinese money brokers in the U.S. to take their proceeds from selling fentanyl and heroin and convert that money into Chinese currency and hold it in Chinese banks. Sources say China has agreed to arrest and prosecute one of the suspects.
In money news, the staggering run for NVIDIA stock made it the most valuable company on Wall Street as of today. Here's ABC's Chuck Sievertson.
NVIDIA is surpassing other tech giants, Microsoft and Apple, as the most valuable U.S. company. It's riding the wave of a more specific tech surge, this time in artificial intelligence. NVIDIA's chips are helping to develop AI. The demand for them has been more voracious than predicted. Its stock rose nearly 4% Tuesday. It's up over 170% this year, and NVIDIA's revenue routinely triples every quarter.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Let me tell you about the folks over at DT McCall's. I mean, these are really good people. They've run a good family-owned business for more than a century. That's right. And if you need something for your home, whether it's furniture, they've got it. You need a bedroom suite, they got it. I mean, think of any kind of furniture you might need for your home, and you're going to find it at DT McCall's. You need appliances. Yes, they've got the best brands. And by the way, they sell you brands that are going to last a long time. Old A.J. McCall over there has some pretty strong feelings about what are the good brands to sell, and he will guide you in the right directions. The folks over there will do you a good job. You need a mower for your yard. I mean, I got mine over there. I love it. Whatever it is you need for your home, you're going to find it at DT McCall. 5 convenient locations in Middle Tennessee near you. Now, look, here's the thing. They're going to deal with you honestly. They're not going to charge you extra for delivery or set up and haul away. When they give you a number, it's an honest number. They're not going to play the games with you that the big box stores play. And whenever possible, DT McCall's tries to do business with companies that work and manufacture and make products here in Middle Tennessee. So when you spend your dollars at DT McCall's, instead of having it go to some corporation with an office in Delaware, you're doing business with local people who have a local company, and the dollars are going to stay local, and they're going to invest in other companies that are based here in Tennessee whenever it is possible to do that. That's what you want. Keep your dollars in the local economy. To find out about their 5 convenient locations, just go to their website, dtmccalls.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
It's, let's call it 39 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock. How you doing out there? You getting home okay? Everything treating you well? Get home, be safe. You got plenty of time. I have a list of honeydews that I've been given to do after I get off the show. Because,
Wow.
I know. Because, I gotta do some things to get the place in order because we have people coming over this weekend. And so I gotta go out there. So I've got a whole list. And I started talking about how you can come home and you still have time to pull weeds. Well, guess what? I think Cabana Wife heard that, and I got a whole list of things that I got to do when I get off the air today.
Did it to yourself.
It's my own fault. It really is. I did it to myself. There's no doubt about it. Let me talk about this. The President of the United States is in the White House today, but he's about to go out to Camp David, and he's going to camp out at Camp David, which is, I don't know if you know the whole layout of Camp David. Camp David is in the mountains of the mountains such as they are in Maryland, and they're about, by helicopter, it's about maybe a 25-30 minute flight from the White House lawn to Camp David. You just fly out there and they land a helicopter. And the president has everything he needs to operate out there. It's sort of like a second White House. All of the connections, all of the security things that he needs are all right there. And, when you go out there, when he goes to Camp David, the reporters don't go to Camp David. Now, most of the time when the president goes somewhere, then the press corps is kept nearby. There's a certain element they call the traveling press corps that always does it, and it rotates out every day, who's responsible for doing that. When I was there doing it, it was every 5 days. Fox would have the responsibility, and I would go wherever the president was going. And so, but the exception to that rule is when he goes to Camp David, you just stay at the White House. You don't go out to Camp David. And I don't know why, but they never like. You can't get near Camp David. It is, it's a pretty secure place. I mean, you can stumble to the entrance of it if you go up to some parks up there. All of a sudden, you say, "Oh, well, there's Camp David. How about that?" But you can't get really near it. and they keep people at a distance. And but it is a place where people have gone. The Bushes loved it. They would go to Camp David a lot, mostly out of courtesy to the staff at the White House. They would go to Camp David so the staff at the White House could have the day off. Isn't that nice? The H.W. Bush, they were really sweet about that. They would go out to Camp David on the weekends just so the White House staff could go home and be with their families on the weekends. And of course, the people at Camp David had to work weekends, but then they had the rest of the week off. So it worked out pretty well for them. But it's a nice place and all that. But he's going to be out there for now until it's time for these debates on the 27th. We are only, 9 days away from the debate. It's going to be a humdinger. Do you think the debate will go forward? I'm wondering. I'm really wondering. But he's doing that. He's going to be prepping for the debate. And nothing is going to happen. No news will occur because they're not even going to do briefings while the president is at Camp David.
Do you intend to brief during the time that he is away?
We don't typically do traditional press briefings when the president is away, so we do not have a scheduled formal briefing to speak of, but obviously we will continue, the press team and with our policy folks as needed, we'll continue to hold briefing calls when appropriate to preview upcoming events, upcoming announcement. That is something that we will do, and if you all have any questions, we will be here to answer any of those questions.
There you go. So, no briefings from the briefing room. 10 days. He'll be 9 days. I guess he'll be out there. Better part of a week going to be out there prepping for this debate. And he needs a lot of prepping. That's how important they look at this thing. It's very important to them because he's got to have a good performance in that first debate to answer the questions about, is he too feeble to be president of the United States? And you know what they're going to do. They're going to do the same thing to him, whatever they did at the State of the Union, whatever cocktail of stuff that they gave him to get all wired up, they'll give it to him again. And he'll come out, and if past his protocol, his prelude, we'll know exactly what kind of guy we're going to get. We're going to get the angry Joe Biden. He's going to come out. He's going to have that fire in his eyes, his squinty eyes, and he's going to be angry. I don't know if that's going to work out well for him in the debate, but he'll be wired up. And so, but the problem is that when you do the State of the Union, and they get you all jacked up, really all you got to do is read off the teleprompter. But you can't do that in a debate. And they know that they've got to get him ready to go, and he just doesn't look like he's ready. Now, if we see the Joe Biden that we saw the other day in Los Angeles when he's at that fundraiser and he's let off like somebody taking care of their old grandpa by Barack Obama, grabbing him by the wrist and dragging him off, if we see that Joe Biden weak and unable to show any energy, mumbling, stumbling, it's over. It's over for him. He will not be the next president of the United States. That will be evident. There'll be so many people watching, and they're going to be looking for that. So they got to get him prepped up, and he needs all the time he can get to get prepped up. I think you can over-prep a guy, quite frankly. But one way or the other, if anybody needs a prep time, it's Joe Biden right now. But he's going to get out there, and he's going to flub it. He's going to flub facts. His information is going to be incorrect. He's going to say things that need to be corrected, like he does every time he goes out and gives a speech, because he's not on a teleprompter. Even when he's on a teleprompter, sometimes they've corrected him as many as 9 times in one speech. They put out the transcript, and they make the corrections of the things he meant to say, not the things he actually said. A total of 9 errors in one speech. That's it. That's embarrassing. Because really all you got to do is read the teleprompter. He's in a bad way. And if this debate goes poorly for him, I don't think that he's going to be the nominee. I just don't. I think this is why they put one early and they put one late. Other 2024 news that I think is interesting. Here we go. This is called... This is from the Daily Wire. Gold Standard poll, a bad omen for Biden in the Midwestern states. I told you about this yesterday. A new Des Moines Register media poll shows that Donald Trump got 50% support among likely voters. He is 18 points ahead of Biden, and independent candidate Robert Kennedy received about 9% support. The findings show Trump increasing his lead since the hush money trial. In 2020, you got to understand that Trump won Iowa by 8 points, and this very respected pollster, J. Ann Selzer's company in Des Moines, she's regarded as one of the best pollsters alive, and the Des Moines Register poll is really quite respected. And so when she says that he's leading by 18 points, he's leading by 18 points. And in 2020, he only won Iowa by 8 points. Wow, isn't that something? Frank Luntz said on X that now Iowa's best pollster shows him up 18 points in the state, which is bad news for Biden in more competitive Midwestern states like Wisconsin and Michigan. Luntz also pointed to results from the same pollster in 2020, showing Trump with a 1-point advantage in June of that year, tying Biden in September and breaking ahead with a 7-point lead over Biden in October. Their final poll in October had Trump up by 71 by 8, so they got it pretty close. Meghan McCain has said there is no scenario where Trump wins Iowa by 18 points but loses Wisconsin. Ann Selzer is arguably the best pollster in the country, certainly the best in Iowa, and her polls should be taken extremely seriously. Iowa, of course, is a red state and won't be competitive in 2024, but the gold standard Seltzer poll is still valuable for this reason. It has a 7 to 10 point delta with key battleground states like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania in the last 2 elections. So the size of Trump's lead matters. And if he's doing well in Iowa, the thought is he may be doing very well in these other states that are other Midwestern or Rust Belt states. Apparently, this Des Moines Register poll rattled a lot of people. I did not really understand the connection between this poll and how it reflects what other polls in other states will likely be, what the outcome will be in other states that are battleground states. Again, I keep looking for any sign here of weakness by Donald Trump. More black voters are going to him than went into the past. More Hispanic voters, more young voters are going to him. He's ahead in all the battleground states. Maybe in some of them, some of the polls are very, very tight, but he's ahead. He's doing very well in the states of North Carolina. He's doing very well in the state of Georgia. He's doing very well in Nevada. He's doing very well in Arizona. All of these states are battleground states, and he's doing pretty well, up in some of those states by 5 points. And the only sign of weakness that I've seen so far is in the state of Florida, and it could be a one-off poll, but he's only leading by 4 in the state of Florida, according to the last poll I saw there, and that's a little concerning. But otherwise, I can't find anything that looks like bad news to me. And look, I mean, I know I'm an optimistic person, and I know a lot of people are going, yeah, but I don't believe the polls. Okay, I get that. But I do. I look at the polls as an indicator of where we are at this time and point and where the trend has been. And I'll tell you, since the conviction, I haven't seen anything that shows that the numbers are going down. I've seen some indication they might have even gone up. And he certainly has raised a lot of money off that. So again, I was talking to Chris Hand about this morning. I was in the station for a little meeting, and I was talking to Chris Hand. I said, I guess maybe I am optimistic, but I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about this, and I don't want to say that we don't need to turn out. We've got to be motivated. We've got to do the right things. Don't get me wrong. We can't take it for granted, but I don't see anything out there that concerns me a terrible amount. Is it going to be, is the overall popular vote going to be close? Yes. But the electoral vote is what matters, and he seems to be doing pretty well right there. 50 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Hey, listen, you know, if you want to grill outside and you're a fan of Legend Steakhouse, why don't you take the same flavors you get at Legend Steakhouse and do them on your own grill? It's possible. Just take a walk down your local grocery store aisle, places like Walmart and Kroger, and look for Johnny Fleeman's very own brand. Johnny Fleeman's Marinade proprietary blend will give your steaks, chicken, or chops a flavor that will hit a home run with other family and friends. It's slow on sodium, about a third of other brands. You don't have to worry about over-marinating. He's big on his honey mustard salad dressing, and it's good stuff. You can use it as dipping sauce for chicken fingers. You can use it for fresh-cut veggies or chips. It's a recipe that's been used in his restaurant for over 35 years. And if your favorite grocer isn't stocking Johnny Fleeman products, just ask them to do so. For more information, go to johnnyfleeman.com. It goes without saying, for those times when you want someone else to do the cooking, they'll always be glad to see you at your nearest Legend Steakhouse for lunch or for dinner.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a Guaranteed Offer and start packing.
Good evening. It is 6 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a mostly cloudy sky down here on Music Row. We're at 87 degrees. We'll have the latest traffic report and a weather forecast in a few minutes. At a UN Security Council briefing on Ukraine today, U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, reiterating the message to Russia that Ukraine is not alone. And she addressed Moscow's latest proposal, which calls for the complete withdrawal of Ukrainian forces from the 4 occupied regions of eastern Ukraine. The ambassador went on to proclaim that at no point in the last 2 years has the Kremlin engaged in a good faith effort to come to the peace talk table or end the war.
We must urge Russia to come to the table ready for constructive, fair dialogue. But we must also ensure Ukraine is at the head of that table and in the strongest possible position.
No more cell phone use for 500,000 students who attend Los Angeles Unified Schools next year under a plan that was approved out there today. Here's Alex Stone reporting from L.A.
With the goal of reducing distractions, increasing human-to-human connections, and cutting down on social media-induced anxiety and bullying, the LAUSD board has approved a plan to ban cell phones for students in the nation's second-largest school district beginning in January. Details of the ban will be approved later, including how to regulate devices like smartwatches, but the ban is expected to be in place all day on campuses, including during recess and lunch.
And trouble for singer Justin Timberlake while he was visiting New York. Here's ABC's Derek Dennis.
The details of singer Justin Timberlake's arrest in New York coming from the criminal complaint against him. It says Timberlake was driving drunk in a 2025 BMW, had bloodshot, glassy eyes, and a strong odor of an alcoholic beverage emanating from his breath. His arrest overnight Tuesday in Sag Harbor Village in the Hamptons, a vacation enclave on Long Island's East End. The complaint also says the 43-year-old singer failed to stop at a stop sign, swerved into oncoming traffic until he was pulled over, then had slurred speech, was unsteady on his feet, and performed poorly on a field sobriety test, telling an officer he had only one drink.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, a man arrested for stalking, aggravated stalking, after police say he was living under a Hermitage woman's house. A Metro Police arrest affidavit says police were called to a Rachel Square Drive in regards to a burglary, a home in that area. And when they got there, the victim told them that their ex-boyfriend, he was identified as Anthony Rodriguez, he was yelling and threatening her at her front door. The suspect fled on foot before the police got there, but they eventually caught the guy hiding behind a sign. The affidavit also states that officers made contact with a second victim, the next-door neighbor of Rodriguez's ex-girlfriend. The neighbor said she thought somebody was living under her house in the crawl space. Police checked it out, and sure enough, they found Rodriguez's clothing and personal items, and he also left behind his driver's license. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather there next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Or good evening now. We can say it officially. It is 7 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Good evening. How's it going for you? You ever have a good evening, good day? You have a good day at work, honey? Okay, I'm glad. We're gonna give you another hour worth of news and information before we hand things over to Mark Levin at the end of the day. I got to tell you, Chris, it was great today. I came in early this morning, and I got to see all the people that I normally don't get to see. I got to see Dan Mandis. I got to see Johnny B, that nice Johnny B.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see Ken Weaver, whose beard is just completely out of control at this point. Have you seen him lately? Have you laid eyes on him?
No.
Yeah. Because the problem is we come and go at different times of the day, and we miss each other. And I don't come down to the station that often, but I did come down today, and I got to see him today, and he's looking good. He's lost some weight, but that beard, I'm telling you,
he's making up for it, huh?
Yeah, it's like ZZ Top quality beard. It's getting on there. And then I saw that lovely Chris Hand. Talked to him for a little bit today. Chatted with him, and then I met with the new program director. Paul Mason. He's a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
I got to having a conversation with him. I must have talked his ear off because I looked up and I'd been there for 2 hours.
Ooh,
yeah. I don't have 2 hours worth of anything to say. I mean, if you listen to the radio show, you know. I looked up and said, good Lord, I got to go. I have a show to do. Bye-bye. And I took off. But it was nice to meet everybody there and say hello to everybody this morning. Nothing like this happened at work today when I was there. In the White House briefing room today, they actually had a reporter who just passed out.
Ooh.
Just in the back, in the briefing room. And I can tell you, that briefing room, you see it on TV, right? It's not that big. Do you know what the briefing room really is? It's a platform they built over Richard Nixon's swimming pool.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it basically, it's not very wide, it's not very big, and they got when they turn the TV lights on there, it gets a little steamy, a little warm in there, and sometimes the light coming through the window, it even gets a little warm in there, and somebody in the back passed out.
Lastly, on the question of timing for the immigration move today, can you just give us a sense of time?
Oh, hold on, did somebody pass out? Yeah, let me get okay, can we get,
She left the podium, and they went over to check on the person. And this whole thing, it took about 2 minutes out of the briefing today because somebody just completely conked out.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that. They throw up the little banner. The press briefing will resume shortly. And then apparently the person came about and said, it's a little hot in here. And they said, yeah, it is hot in there.
Wow.
The only thing I would ever pass out for in the briefing room was boredom.
Well, maybe that's what it was.
The briefing is like the highlight of the day. I mean, when I was there, my day would go something like this. I would get there for what they called the gaggle. And you would go into the press secretary's office and, like 50 people crowding around the desk of the press secretary. At that time, most of the time I was there during the Clinton years, it was Joe Lockhart. And you would pepper him with questions about what was going to happen today. And sometimes news would be made and you would then have to go out onto the White House lawn and report it. But some days it was just giving you a little detail about how the day was going to lay out and what the president was going to do and what you expected and what you should be, sort of give you a little guidance about how the day was going to unfold at the White House. And then you went to the hellhole that we called our office. It was about the size of a walk-in closet, not even really that big. And it was like there were sometimes as many as 3 people jammed into this little booth with a sliding glass door on it. And I worked with a remarkable journalist, but a messy man by the name of Jim Angle. Jim Angle was a lovely guy. And I learned a lot from him. He taught me a lot about how to cover the White House, and he was a very happy guy generally. Not really a dour fellow. He was always sort of had a smile on his face and had a good easy laugh about him. I love Jim Angle, and sometimes sometimes I'd be there with Wendell Goler. He didn't like me much.
Oh.
Well, he just didn't. He didn't like me. And so, being in the booth with Wendell was not a pleasant afternoon because, he just was sort of a different kind, more of a grumpy kind. But I got to tell you, I hated being in that booth. I hated. I mean, I'm not good with tight spaces. I'm not. I don't think I'm claustrophobic, but it just was not pleasant for a big guy in a booth, and you're in there with two other people. So there are three people in this little tiny closet that is downstairs in the back of the briefing room, and then you had to be there all day long until they called a lid. Now, when they call a lid, that basically is the press secretary would say, "We're done for the day. There'll be no more news." And so that meant that the second reporter, there was always one reporter to handle live, and then Jim Engel would normally do the package for special report, it was then hosted by my friend, Britt Hume. They would do the package for Britt Hume's show. So, whenever I got a lid, that meant that I could go. Usually that happened about 5. Sometimes it wouldn't happen at all. Sometimes they'd forget to call the lid. You just had to hang out there.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I hated being in that little tiny booth so much that ultimately, I did a lot of travel and I tried to stay out of the booth as much as possible. But the highlight of the day is really that briefing. But it is hot. You jam that many people into that little room and you turn on the TV lights. And on a hot day anyway, maybe the air conditioner's not running quite as good as it normally would. I could see where somebody could pass out. But it was an interesting time. Underneath the podium where you see Karine Jean-Pierre give her briefing every day, there's a hatch door. And if you open up that hatch, there's a ladder that will let you climb down into what was once the swimming pool. And everybody over the years has taken a black marker, a felt tip pen, and they have signed their names. And so I went down there one day and somebody said, don't forget to take the felt tip pen. You got to take the felt tip pen. You got to sign the swimming pool. So a lot of reporters who have covered the White House, their names are scribbled on the swimming pool down below.
Like on the wall or the bottom?
Like the wall of the swimming pool. Yeah, like on the tile, right?
Uh-huh.
And then my name is there. I don't know. It was. And then, but I went down there one day just to see, so he said, you want to see what it's like? So yeah, we can open it up. Come on, let's go. So we're down underneath the briefing room. And basically they just put a big platform over the top of the swimming pool and drained the pool. And that's what became the White House briefing room over the years.
I'm surprised Biden hadn't wanted to fill the pool back up. He likes to swim.
And then if you needed something during the day, then they got another pool. It's out back. There's another pool.
Okay.
He's not going to go. The president's not going to be without a pool or a putting green or whatever it is they want. They, when the Obama kids were there, they put a jungle gym set out back for the girls to play on when they were little. So, but I mean, they'll do whatever you need to do. But during the day, if you needed something, you could call the press office or you could just walk back there. And the door, you just open the door and go back there and you could ask questions. They didn't like us at Fox all that much because this was all, when I was started there, it was all during the Monica Lewinsky stuff. I remember, people, sometimes they'd help you. Sometimes they'd say, yeah, we'll get back to you. And then you never got back to them. But the Clinton people didn't like Fox all that much because we were covering in a big way the Monica Lewinsky scandal that was going on at the time. And so if they had, a lot of times the news that comes out of the White House comes in the form of a press release or a statement from the White House that is printed, right? And we were down in the basement. So if they came up on top and started passing it out on top, we didn't know about it because we were down in the basement, right? And then they would go down the back stairwell. There's a way in the back. There was a back stairwell, and then they would come up through the basement part where our office was so that we were the last ones to receive the piece of paper. They wanted to make sure that we didn't get any advantage at all over our competitors.
No,
they were always
it's just a coincidence.
Little things like that, and it was really funny. But you never knew what was going to happen at the White House or who was going to come walking up the walk. It was an interesting place. I mean, when I remember the first day I got my White House pass. I was working not for Fox News, but for the Fox affiliate there in town. And because I covered Capitol Hill, there were times when I would need to go to the White House. Hill people would go to the White House, and I would go up there. And I was a backup for the White House correspondent, guy named Pat McGrath. So I got a White House pass. And I remember the day I got it, my parents were in town, and I'd gone in and applied for it. And then you have to wait. They do a background check on you. They called and they make sure that you're not a criminal or anything like that. They do all this kind of stuff. And then one day you get a call from the Secret Service saying, or actually a letter saying, you can come get your pass now. Your pass is ready. And you go to the old executive office building, which is right next door to the White House, and you get your thing. And my mom and dad waited outside. I came out showing my credential. There I was.
Yeah, very cool.
It was a very cool thing. And it had on it PRR, which stood for press representative. Your picture, who you work for, your name, and PRR, which identified to the Secret Service that you were a press representative. So a lot of camera people had White House passes because you never knew when you were going to need to send an extra camera crew to the White House. And so a lot of camera crews were granted passes. And even though not many reporters, and they put a limit on how many reporters could have them, but if you could justify the need for it, they would give the camera people these PRR press passes, right? So I remember one day I heard this story. I believe it to be true, that there had been a train derailment up in Maryland somewhere, and so everybody goes up there, and of course, the first thing that the police do is they shut down the area, and you can't get in, right? Well, the camera crew rolled up to where they had stopped people from going forward. And you couldn't get any pictures because it was down this dirt road. And they flashed their White House pass and said, Pennsylvania Railroad. And they got waved right through. And they went on up there and they got great pictures of the whole thing. They're the only ones and they used that press pass to convince them that they worked for the Pennsylvania Railroad.
That's using your brain right there.
I thought that was about the funniest thing I ever heard in my life. A White House pass that got them to the train derailment. But it used to be in those days with the White House pass, you had access to every building in town except one, and that was the Pentagon. And to get into the Pentagon, you had to have a separate pass. But the White House, you had a Capitol Hill pass, you had a White House pass. White House would get you into the State Department. It would get you into the Justice Department. It would get you into whatever department you needed to get into town. You would flash the White House pass, and they would just wave you right through. Then after 9/11, that all changed. You had to carry around 15 or 20 different passes. But I can understand how somebody in that little tiny briefing room could pass out. But as I say, I never passed out, but I almost passed out a few times of being completely bored, sitting there waiting for them to give me the close, to call the lid for the day so I could go home and get out of that godforsaken place. I can understand why people there are so crabby.
Well.
Britt Hume used to, with his staff, he used to do the group moan every afternoon. They would all go, you could hear them in the ABC booth. Everybody groaning and moaning in misery together because it's such a miserable place to be stuck. Anyway, those are my White House stories. 20 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Let me tell you about the folks over at Nashville Golden Coin. How many times have you heard someone describe something as being the gold standard? Well, when it comes to finding an investment that protects you from runaway inflation, gold is the gold standard. It is a tried and true store of value consistent across generations. Maybe you've thought about adding gold or other precious metals to your portfolio, but you feel you don't have the knowledge you need to make a smart decision. That's the way I felt, but I got the professional guidance I needed at Nashville Golden Coin. The way this works is you make an appointment, then you sit down one-on-one with my friends at Nashville Golden Coin. They'll answer all your questions and help you make the precious metals investment that is right for you. It's friendly, you'll learn a lot, and you'll never be subjected to a high-pressure sales pitch. Gold and silver can be a safe haven in uncertain economic times, and my friends at Nashville Golden Coin are standing by to answer all your questions about the precious metals market. And if you have some old coins laying around gathering dust, bring them along. You might be surprised just how much they're worth. To set up that one-on-one appointment, just go to NashvilleGoldenCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldenCoin.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Donald Trump on the campaign trail in the land of cheese and bratwurst today. And we'll also have today's closing money news. Those stories coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 25 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, bringing you news and information you can use and trying to keep you apprised of what's and occasionally I tell a geezy old story like I just did. Sometimes I like to geese.
Yeah, it's nice. You
You have all those experiences. People want to know, people talk stats. Well, what was it like, doing those kind of things?
Oh, yeah. Get a little peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, it is interesting when, people want to know how you cover a White House, how you get, what's it like to be on Air Force One? What's it like to be in a presidential motorcade? I would say, again, I'm going to geese again for a little bit longer. I will say that the wonderful thing about being a broadcast journalist in Washington, D.C. is that you would find yourself as a witness to history. You really were in these amazing places at amazing times. And I'll give you an example. You had Barack Obama's inauguration, right? And I'm there on the west front of the Capitol, maybe, 25 feet from Barack Obama as he's getting the oath of office. But what was interesting about that day is that, I had never seen 1 million people show up in Washington for anything. And so, I looked down the mall, and there literally are 1 million people between the Capitol and the Washington Monument 16 blocks away. It was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. And so, to be there for that kind of thing, whether you like a president or not, still being a witness to history like that, it's awe-inspiring sometimes, to see how things work out. And it was just a fascinating thing. I covered a lot of inaugurations, but that one stands out. I'll tell you how fascinated I was by what I was seeing, is I was literally sitting 2 seats away from Leonardo DiCaprio and never even noticed him.
Well, he's not much of a fella. He's a smaller guy.
And I saw Steven Spielberg. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, his cap
I talked to him. I talked to him. Yeah, I talked to him briefly. He was with some people from Hollywood. Weird, they were there just because they had supported Obama. And so, those kind of things. I didn't even notice that. I also remember that was the coldest I've ever been in my life. Golly, it was cold. January 20th, and it was freezing, and I'd been out there since before dark, and I was still there shivering in the cold at noon. With when you sit out in the cold that long, it starts to set into your bones. And then they said, "Oh, but here's the next thing. Then you're gonna go over here, and you're gonna get into the motorcade, and you're gonna be in the truck that leads the president down Pennsylvania Avenue, so you'll be there with the camera crew." And I said, I said, "Don't worry, they're going to warm you up. You're going to have time to warm up before you get on the truck." They didn't. They sent us straight to the truck. I didn't get a bite of lunch or anything. I went straight to the truck, and by the time I got to the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue, I was so cold I could barely speak. I've never been that cold. That was such a cold day. Golly. But it was sort of cool. Literally being at the head of the parade in front of the presidential motorcade, and then they get out at one point and walk down the street in an area where the Secret Service had secured an area as being extra, extra, extra secure, and they got out and walked. It was sort of cool. I'll never forget that. But, you would just find yourself at these weird places, and you'd say, I need to remember this because this is history. I'm seeing something that they'll talk about forever. And, that was the wonderful thing about being a journalist. I tell people, young people, you want to go into journalism, you'll never, ever regret the experiences that you'll have. It's just, because if you get good enough, you will look around at times and say, I would pay people to be here today. And you really would, just to have the experience, because it was really, really quite remarkable. 30 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. I won't geese when we come back. I'll tell you some actual news.
Good evening, it's 6:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds, 86 degrees on Music Row, a complete weather forecast, and we'll have another traffic report here for you momentarily. Former President Trump with a campaign rally in Racine, Wisconsin today, and while he was there, he denied reports that he called Milwaukee a horrible city. The Republican National Convention's going to be in Milwaukee next month. Trump also taking on President Biden's new executive action affecting undocumented immigrants. Here's ABC's Perry Russum.
Former President Trump reacting to President Biden's new executive action, creating a streamlined process for undocumented spouses and children of U.S. citizens to apply for permanent residency and eventually citizenship.
I think a lot of them are going to vote for me, you want to know the truth. Because if you look at the Hispanic population, if you look at the black population, they're voting for Trump. They're voting for Trump. You, look at you.
Trump apparently pointing to people of color in the crowd.
We now turn to our closing money news, today coming from Chuck Sievertson.
From ABC News, Wall Street Now, the staggering run for NVIDIA's stock carried it to the market's mountaintop Tuesday, becoming the most valuable company on Wall Street. It was the strongest force pushing the S&P 500 upward again. NVIDIA is riding the wave of a more specific tech surge, this time in artificial intelligence. NVIDIA's chips are helping to develop AI. The demand for them has been more than predicted. The major indexes drifted and then surged a bit at the end. The Dow up 57, the S&P 500 up 14, the Nasdaq gained 5 points. Treasury yields fell after a report showed sales at U.S. retailers returned to growth last month, but remained below economist expectations. It may be encouraging to the Federal Reserve, which wants to get inflation a little lower before it cuts interest rates. Google says it will invest an additional $2.3 billion to support 3 data center campuses in central Ohio.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Let me tell you about United Structural Systems, the same company you've trusted for 30 years in your crawl space. And, you just don't let anybody in your crawl space. It's now offering mold treatment, and they'll give you $500 off any mold growth solution now through the end of the month. You got to move quickly. You got until June 30th. Honestly, think about this. The one thing you do not want to have in your crawl space is mold growing. It's not healthy. The mold spores, they're down there growing in your crawl space. They get into the air that is circulated through your house. And it's really, honestly, it's not good for you. You need to take care of that problem. Breathe easier with USS's mold treatment and turn your crawl space into a healthy space. They got something called an RTE process. That stands for remove, treat, and encapsulate the crawl space. And when you do that, you're not only removing the growth, you're making sure it does not come back and that you have a healthy, dry space underneath your house, which is what you want. And again, right now, if you act between now and June 30th, you can get $500 off that process. Your space will be warranted and backed by a USS guarantee, giving you peace of mind knowing that any mold spores will no longer fill the airways of your home. USS here to help with all your foundation and waterproofing needs. Can help you if you got a mold problem. Visit USSTN.com. Call this number, 615-488-7855.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
38 minutes now past the hour. We're about 22 minutes away from handing this show over to Mark Levin after the news. That's right. 7 o'clock, 7:05 or so. Mark Levin, you'll hear them say, he's here. Now, that doesn't mean he's really here in the building. It just means that he's here on the radio. Just want to clear that up for you in case you thought that he showed up.
He was waiting around the corner.
Yeah, that's right. Byron York, who I have a great deal of admiration for, I think he's a smart guy. Works for the Washington Examiner, and he you see him on Fox News all the time. He's got an article out that I think is pretty interesting, saying you can't explain away Biden's Juneteenth moment. Now he makes the point that there have been 3 incidents of late where people have raised questions about Grandpa Joe and whether or not he's all there. One of them was June. I mean, they happen in short and relatively close together. There was the June 6th appearance at D-Day ceremonies in Normandy, France. There was the June 10th appearance at the White House at the Juneteenth concert. They did an early Juneteenth concert because he's going to be up at Camp David prepping for his debate. Happened over the weekend, June 15th. So all of these are within, 8 or 9 days of each other at the celebrity-filled Hollywood fundraiser. Now, let's go to D-Day. This is where there's some parachuters who jumped down. It was all sort of chaotic, and there were skydivers landing all around these leaders of various G7 nations. And Biden wandered away. He seemed to wander away from the group of leaders. Now, the White House insists he went over to talk to somebody that had just landed not far from him. He was interested in talking to those people. But, the prime minister of Italy reached over and sort of, touched him and said, hey, come back here for the picture, right? And it seemed like she was there to sort of rescue him from wandering away. It was an odd moment. I mean, I looked at it, I thought, strange. He's just wandering away from the rest of the group. The group is all focused one direction, and here's Biden walking away from everybody else. Maybe it was just an awkward moment, and maybe he truly was just interested, so let's give him that one. I mean, I thought it was weird. You saw it. You thought it was weird, but let's give him that one, okay? Then let's talk about the one that happened this weekend, where he's out there raising money at a fundraiser in Los Angeles, and you see the former president at the end of the event. It's been he hasn't been particularly sharp or precise. He slurred his words, answered a lot of questions. You couldn't make sense of some of the things he said, but that's pretty much par for the course. Then when they stand up at the end, they get a rousing applause from all the adoring Glitteratian stars there in Hollywood, the people who helped him raise some $30 million that night. And then he seemed to, for a moment, he seemed to freeze. Barack Obama, who apparently, I'm guessing, had been prepped, make sure that, Joe knows where we're going at the end of the thing, because sometimes I guess he gets lost. And we've seen that happen at least 15 times where he doesn't seem to know where to go. Obama goes over and grabs him, sort of tugs on his sleeve a little bit, grabs him by the wrist and sort of pushes him, points him in the direction, and then, as almost to make sure he doesn't get lost between where they are in center stage and exit stage left, he puts his arm around and pats him on the back, sort of in a patronizing, hey, come on, Grandpa, let's go. It's the way it came across to me. Okay, but, maybe that was just Biden. And maybe that was just basically Obama being nice to Biden. And they explained it away saying, well, okay, it really wasn't all that much. You're blowing it out of proportion. So let's give him that one. But you can't explain away what happened at the Juneteenth thing. That was just bizarre. The event, according to York, was a mixture of concert and pep rally. Biden was scheduled to join the crowd to watch some performances and deliver brief remarks. As he often does, Biden badly garbled part of his speech, but his truly concerning thing happened as he was watching the concert. Singer Kirk Franklin was on stage. Biden was in the front row standing with Vice President Kamala Harris and her husband Douglas Emhoff, and then on one side, and then Philonise Floyd, the brother of George Floyd, on the other. There was a lot of motion. People were swaying and clapping. They were moving. They were grooving. They were gesturing, in some of the cases singing along with Franklin. But Biden stood perfectly motionless. his eyes seemingly fixed on some distant point. His hands hung motionless by his side. He had on his face what appeared to be a frozen smile. You really should watch what happened, says Byron York, and I have. This is he shows an Associated Press video of the event. As far as I know, it's unedited and unmanipulated in any way. The Biden segment is roughly between 18:20 and 21 minutes after. Biden occasionally turns his head a little. Philanese Floyd engaged with him briefly, and then Biden resumes staring. More than 2.5 minutes is a very, very long, uncomfortable time for something like that to go on. There was clearly, says York, some sort of problem with the president. It is not possible to explain what happened. So basically at the end of the day, he says, okay, let's give him the thing that happened at Normandy is just, him being awkward. Let's give him the big LA thing as such as it is, because it was Obama being overly friendly. But he goes on to say, but no one can explain away the Juneteenth situation. It just happened. And the fact that it happens lends credence to the idea that Biden also had a problem in a less serious way on D-Day and in Hollywood. Just watch the Juneteenth video and see if you can say that did not happen. One thing is certain, if the Juneteenth event showed some sort of problem with the president, it will happen again. The White House will not be able to say this did not happen whenever something does happen indeed. See, that's the thing that they said. Karine Jean-Pierre was doubling down on all of this and talking about, there's really nothing to it. What are you talking about? There is nothing here, nothing to see. You're blowing this out of proportion. Here it is.
Several recent cheap fakes actually attack the president for thanking troops. For thanking troops. That is what they're attacking the president for. Both in Normandy, this happened, and again in Italy. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here. Instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative wins, what he's been able to do for the American people across the country, we're seeing these deep fakes, these manipulated videos. And it is, again, done in bad faith.
On the video you were talking about, there were two instances in recent days where leaders, former President Obama and Giorgia Meloni of Italy, they physically put hands on the president to guide him and show him, give stage directions. Are they doing that on their own, or has anybody asked them to run the show like that?
First of all, let me spoke to the most recent, right? And as we saw on Saturday, President Obama's office put out a statement. So I would refer you to that statement about what was being accused in those by others. And he said this did not happen in the sense of what people were saying they were seeing, right? Or what was being falsely reported that they were seeing. Let's not forget, President Obama, President Biden have a relationship. They are friends. They're like family to each other. And I think that's what you saw. You saw the president put his hand on the back of President Biden, and they walked off the stage after taking questions or at an event taking questions from Jimmy Kimmel. That is what you saw. But I would refer you to President Obama's office statement. They talked about this, they discussed this, and they came out with it pretty quickly.
So there, I mean, she says it's cheap. What did she call it? Cheap fake. Instead of deep fake, she calls it cheap fake. I don't know. Something's going on with the guy. And again, I'm very interested to see what happens on the day of the debate, which is I think I've got here June 27th. This is the first debate. This is the 18th, so it's 9 days away. My math is correct on that. Am I correct, Chris? Yeah.
Yes.
Carry the one. 9 days. Hunter Biden, by the way, Hunter Biden revealed top CCP leader wanted him to visit China to discuss business opportunities back when his dad was vice president. And the FBI knew since 2016 that Hunter Biden's team nearly scored a $120 million Ukrainian deal while Joe was vice president. This is from justthenews.com. The FBI learned as far back as 2016 that Hunter Biden and his partners had plotted to set up a new venture in tax-friendly Liechtenstein that would be capitalized by a whopping $120 million investment from the controversial owner of the Ukrainian energy firm Burisma Holdings, according to documents obtained by Just the News that have been kept from the American public for 8 years. The mega deal was not referenced inside Hunter Biden's now infamous laptop or during the 2019 impeachment proceedings involving Ukraine, but instead chronicled in a trove of 3.39 million documents the FBI seized from Hunter Biden and his business partners during an investigation of securities fraud nearly a decade ago. Where have these documents been? The cache of documents was recently turned over by former Hunter Biden business partner Devon Archer to the House Oversight Committee as part of an impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden's conduct. They got 3.39 million, 3.3, let's call it 3.4 million documents that the FBI had seized. All now handed over to the House Oversight Committee. You say, what is the House Oversight Committee doing? They're going through $3.4 million documents, trying to figure out exactly what was going on. The new evidence shows the major investment plan was being built at the time when Hunter Biden was serving on Burisma's board of directors and Joe Biden was still serving as Barack Obama's vice president in charge of U.S. and Ukraine policy. The memo states Hunter Biden was also supposed to serve on the board of a new company called Burnham Energy Security, LLC, and it was going to be capitalized by Burisma, who at the time, the owner of that company, was trying to get out from under corruption allegations in his home country. The Hunter Biden-connected Burnham entity was slated to get a quarter of the new venture's net revenues without putting up any cash, according to recent testimony to Congress from one of the partners. They're still plugging away on this thing. They're still looking at documents, and new stuff keeps coming across the transom every day. 50 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Grace Point Healthcare is the standard for affordable, comprehensive, and convenient medicine. How? As a direct pay provider, your healthcare is delivered without the red tape of an insurer's guidelines. Smart Care plans make it even more affordable. Starting at $69 a month, you get free office visits and free basic labs for the entire year. Grace Point identifies and treats the root causes of a condition, not just the symptoms, through a comprehensive, functional approach. And by usually seeing you the same or even the next day. Boy, that's rare, isn't it? You're treated at your convenience. Grace Point Healthcare. You get affordable, comprehensive, and convenient medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. Located on Main Street in Franklin, you've seen them, 615-599-6868. That's 599-6868 to schedule an appointment.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.